Friends, fans, and fine folk, grab your drinks and snacks and come on down to the campfire for this short rest with me and my friend, Ellie Harwood!
Hi!
In person,
Ayo.
in the tavern, we did
Ayo.
it. How you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah?
My intro, I just realised as I was saying it that time, I was like, my intro's always like, come down to the campfire because we're having a short rest. But for the in-person ones, I feel like it would be impractical to have a campfire in a tavern.
It would. It's mainly made of wood, so...
I feel like I should have a slightly adapted intro for the in-person ones, where I go, grab your drinks and snacks from the bar and come to join us at the table for this.
There you go. Edit that bit in, and you're sweet.
Fancy can easily edit that in. Match up the voice and everything.
Yeah.
Use AI. It's easy to do anything with AI these days.
Does it all.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How am I? That's always a funny question.
How are you?
Deep down, how am I?
How's things going at the moment?
Good. Yeah, good.
Life is good?
Yeah, life is good.
That's good to hear.
It's busy as, but I think everyone's busy as, so I'm not going to say that I'm the only one that's busy.
Yeah, everyone's always so busy. Although I had a similar mindset for a long time where I was like, I'm not complaining about being busy, everybody's busy. And then I started to learn what busy means to other people, and I'm like, oh man, I'm doing twice as much as you.
Yeah, this is the thing about people with ADHD.
I am busy. I'm like, I probably should be complaining about being busy. On the bell curve of busy, I am up this end of it, I've discovered.
Will be. Yep.
And for a long time, I was like, oh, everybody's always this busy.
I know. It's, we've got crazy neurodivergent brains, and we work double speed.
I've got some friends that are that would just be like, you want to do something tonight? And I'd be like, what do you mean tonight?
How do you...
No, I can't do something tonight. I've got something planned tonight, and I've got something planned tomorrow night, and the next night, and the next night, and the next.
I need 8 weeks notice.
Yeah, I can book you in about 2 months. So let me put you in my schedule. When it started to become obvious to me when I started showing people my calendar, which is just like color coded, and every moment of every day is color coded with this and this and this, and like. I started color coding it when I realized, I need to differentiate between like downtime and friend time and stuff, and so I do schedule in friend time and stuff, but it does have to be scheduled like everything else. And it's like, okay, if I look at my week and I go, there's not enough orange here, then I know like, I'm not putting enough time in for friends.
That's good. That's a good visual way to like balance your life.
Yeah, I can look at my calendar and go, there's a lot of red. Like I'm working on Viva stuff. My Viva stuff is red stuff in my calendar. I'm like, okay, lots of red. This is a Viva week, obviously. Yeah, wow. I don't have enough blue, so I'm not working on my own Robert Hartley stuff. Or I don't have enough purple, so I'm not putting enough time into like sorting out finances because purple is finances.
Oh
so I'm
goodness.
like, I need to schedule some more of that to like catch up on invoicing or doing my expenses.
Wow.
So that when it comes to tax time, I don't have to do the whole thing at that point.
Smart.
Because if I don't do that,
then,
it does come to tax time and it's like, oh God, what do I do?
Exactly. No, that's actually a really good hack though, to like have different colours in your calendar for different things. So you can easily go, that week's massive, or not enough of that.
Helps to visualise when you're like, I've actually miraculously got a day of something free.
Yeah.
Where
did that come from?
Let me put gaming in there. Schedule it in so that I can do something.
Nice.
So before we jump in too much the conversation, for anyone who doesn't know, who are you? Brief explanation.
Hello, I'm Ellie. What am I? Wow, that's a deep question, that one. I'm a person. I'm a woman.
Good, starting at the basics, I like it.
Really getting the groundwork here, so you really know. No,
it's like when you're creating a D&D character. You got to start with your race, your class, your background.
Exactly.
You got to choose your gender. Yeah, all that.
They need to get exactly who I am. No, but I'm Ellie. I'm 32. There you go. There's the age. If you know my face, you probably know my face through Viva La Dirt League stuff. I've obviously worked with Rob for quite a few years with Viva. And played most recently a very fun D&D game, which I love and I just miss, and I want to go back and do more of it. I do. It was so fun.
Maybe their characters will come back one day.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Well, except your character because you died. Wait, no.
Oh no!
I like to drop that shit in because then people don't tend to know which parts I'm trolling at. Because sometimes I do genuinely say that stuff on purpose that is actually true.
Smart.
And then sometimes I say it and it's complete nonsense. And then they never know which to trust. So the whole thing is trolling until it's revealed like, what actually happened.
He did tell us that. But yeah, no, so I'm Ellie, 32, woman.
You're an actor?
I'm an actor, yeah, I'm an actor, thank you.
You're in radio?
Yeah, currently working in radio. I used to work in radio, but I'm back there again for a year, covering like a maternity leave contract, so just 12 months. And I...
Writer? Do you consider yourself a writer?
Yeah, I've done a bit of writing.
Because you wrote with Brit for ADHD and me?
Yeah, wrote ADHD and me. I've written a few board scripts in the past.
Director? Have you ever done directing?
I haven't done directing. No, not
Any
yet.
behind-the-scenes film stuff? You done...
Well, when I used to work as a social media manager for Viva, that was a bit of behind-the-scenes-esque stuff. More for social, but yeah, I've done that.
Cinematographer?
Oh, yeah, that's me with my iPhone. Yeah,
for social media stuff. Yeah.
No, and I'm also a podcaster. And
you run the Viva, whatever the fuck that's called. We were told we should do a podcast.
Yes, I produced the first season of We Were Told You Should Do a Podcast. I have my own gaming podcast with 2 other guys. Yeah, I'm kind of just do a bit of everything, really. Yeah.
So if they've clicked on this video, chances are they know who you are. Yeah. But if you're from my community and you didn't, Ellie's a big part of the Viva team.
Yeah.
So I usually like to start out a short rest because I call this whole series Short Rest.
Okay.
Obviously alluding to my D&D passion.
Love it.
Help me to world build a little bit of like why we need a short rest. If we're on a short rest, it means it sort of implies that we're on a mission of some sort. Yeah. We're in a D&D world and we're on a mission. What is our mission?
Our mission right now?
Yeah, are we actually our characters in this fictional short rest? What would we be short resting from? Could be anything. Could be
just like life, really.
Just
nice
a life.
Sit down for 2 hours.
It's one of those downtime sessions where like the DM hasn't had a lot of time to prep, and he just says, "Look, players, I'm not going to go hard on this session. All right, I've got work stuff happening, so like." It's just going to kind of be like a, what do they call them in like anime, like filler? It's going to be like a filler episode or a beach episode or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
So it's like basically a mission in a D&D game where you're just rolling for general life. Yeah,
exactly.
And you're just so exhausted that you just need a
We just need a rest. Honestly, this is just forced rest.
Where are we? Forced rest.
I have to sit in the seat for 2 hours. That's probably a good thing, actually.
What's the setting of our short rest? Are we actually in a tavern, or are we short resting on a beach, or are we gone out into the garden to do gardening?
I love the beach. So I picture that we are at this very table, but we've set it up on the beach. We've
taken the tavern table to the beach. It's a tavern that's on the beach side. Why not?
Exactly. There you go.
It's run by a Triton, one of the mermaid-esque races.
Exactly.
And they retired from a life of adventuring, set up a tavern on the beach.
So you did the world building for me. That's why you do your good job.
That's why I do what I do. So we're at a tavern on the beach. What would we be drinking?
Oh, no free brand deals. No, water.
Just salt water, like seawater. Maybe you're a sea folk. Like I imagine Buble would have enjoyed a bit of salt water.
Yes, no, they would have.
Special, I'm not a drinker. Is it margaritas that have the salted rims on the cocktails?
I always get confused between margarita and mojito. And I don't know which one.
I think the margaritas have the salted rims.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it's kind of like one of those, but the salt goes into the water, into the glass as well, for the water genassis.
That's what we're drinking.
What else? I think what else would go really well at a beach? I reckon.
We're having some seafood. I don't love seafood.
I don't either, but we don't have to.
But hey,
we're in this fictional short rest we're creating.
Love seafood.
We love seafood.
We love oysters and mussels and.
I reckon the Triton has a deal at the tavern that's like you get to drink for free if you bring in certain poundage of seafood, like so. So fishermen and stuff will go off and catch stuff, and they'll bring in like a huge trout or whatever, or they'll bring in like some oysters and stuff, and they'll go like, all right, and he weighs it up and he goes, yeah, you can have. I'll add so-and-so onto your tab.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. So there's always like a supply of seafood at this beachside tavern.
Yeah, see, think smarter, not harder, you know.
So we're enjoying our salty margaritas. This is why it's acting. I'm not a drinker myself. Usually with my guests that are from like a channel or a like a content creation or something, I usually like to start with like asking them where they got their name from, where they chose their name. Obviously, your name is just your name.
Yeah, just
but
Ellie,
I did actually have a question. Is Ellie short for anything?
Good question. It's not, actually. I was named after my great-grandmother, and her name was actually Ellen, so E-L-L-E-N.
Right.
But she was called Ellie throughout her whole life. She never got called
yeah.
Ellen. And so Mum wanted to name me after her, but didn't want the Ellen part.
Yeah.
She was just like, I just want to call you Ellie. So I'm named after an Ellen, but my name is just Ellie.
Nice.
Just Ellie.
Any middle names?
Brooke. Ellie Brooke.
Ellie Brooke.
Ellie Brooke, Harwood.
Brooke Harwood.
Yeah.
Have you always liked your name, or
I have, actually.
kind of like a dividing thing for a lot of people? Is like some people grow up loving it, some people like hate their names.
I've actually not minded my name. I'm actually quite stoked with my name. I especially quite like my first and middle name as a combo. I think Ellie Brooke's quite a nice name. Yeah. The only annoying thing about being called Ellie is people don't know how to spell it, because it can either be A or it could be a Y on the end, or
it can have 3 L's,
literally
2 Y's.
Yeah, it's always like, my name's Ellie, E-L-L-I-E. Like, it's like a reflex. I just spell it because otherwise they'll mess it up. But yeah, so that is my name, just Ellie.
Cool. I like Brooke as well. I think Brooke is also nice because it invokes that imagery of like a babbling brook and like the beautiful serene sort of water. Because you don't tend to talk about, you can talk about a river being beautiful, but you can also talk about a river being super dangerous and like raging and rapids and stuff. You don't really associate brooks with like negative things.
Yeah. Wait, so a brook, can you define that for me?
So a brook is like a small rivulet, like a smaller version of a stream, I suppose.
Gotcha.
And so they don't really have negative connotations usually. It's when you say a brook in the terms of water, it's always usually like a pretty serene thing. At least for me, maybe.
Oh, I love that. All right, well, I love that. Yeah. Ellie Water, Harwood. No.
So where did you like start out? What was your beginnings, as it were? You're New Zealand born and raised, yeah?
I am, yeah. So we're going right from me exiting my mum's vagina.
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about your birth. Do you remember your?
I don't remember that, but apparently it was about 52 hours long. So my mum remembers
Jesus Christ, holy shit.
You know, I took a while. I recently actually found out I'm autistic as well as ADHD, and I think me not coming out of the womb for 52 hours is literally
I don't like change.
Yeah, I'm in my comfort zone.
Get off of me.
Literally. So it makes sense now as to why I was hiding. I was in my cocoon. I didn't want to leave that place. It was scary coming out of that. Don't remember it, but apparently it was. And I took enough time. So yeah, I was born in Auckland. This is where I still live. And then went right through school in Auckland. When I was a kid, I loved singing and I wasn't great at dancing, but I liked dancing and I loved acting. So when I was younger, I did a lot of theatre, a lot of some musicals, always involved in the choir at school and stuff like that.
Do you have an agent?
Do I have an agent?
Did you have an agent as a kid?
I did actually. I
did professional acting?
Yeah, I had a little agent, so I did a few TV ads here and there and stuff. I've always wanted to try and find them, but because it was the 90s, it's hard to find those ads. Yeah. So I've never found them, but I just wish I could find one because it'd be such a gag. So yeah, I did have the odd bit of acting as a child. And I was also very into sport. So I was kind of this weird anomaly where I did actually really like sport as well, and I wasn't too bad at sport. So yeah, love sport, love theatre, love singing. What else? I could never stick to anything though, and then I found out at 28 I had ADHD, so I was like,
Suddenly everything makes sense.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, lots of different things I liked as a kid, and then at high school, I was a very good student. I was one of those students that I hated authority and getting in trouble. So I just tried really hard to not get in trouble. Right. And so I was a prefect and deputy head girl and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I did a lot at school, but then
Academic?
Yeah, I was. So I'm blessed to have quite a good brain for remembering things. So I wasn't necessarily learning it, but I was memorizing it. And so my grades, amazing. I was always really way far ahead in terms of my academia. But then if you ask me what I learned at university, for example, I studied psychology at university, and I got amazing grades. But then if you ask me what I learned, I couldn't bloody tell you. Because I just cram, spit. And then I didn't retain it because
that's
I wasn't actually learning it.
That's a lot of the broken part of the education system is about just rote learning and honestly, learn this fact and show us that you can remember the fact.
Exactly, it's not
on this
for everyone.
one particular day. Exams in general, terrible way of
I hate
assessing whether somebody's actually learned anything.
I couldn't agree more.
All it's testing is can you put the right answer down on this piece of paper at this particular moment, regardless of what circumstances are happening in your life.
100%.
Somebody just died in your family this morning, or you're feeling really sick, or you're like super onto it because you're focused for whatever reason, or because you're crammed or whatever. Like, it's just a snapshot of such an insignificant moment of your life.
I could not agree more, and I was very lucky that I did have that memory for that, and so I didn't struggle at school necessarily. There were things I struggled with, like maths. I know you're a genius. I never got maths. I could never understand it.
Right.
That one really stressed me out. So that's the one subject I didn't do very well in, but every other subject I managed to do reasonably well. But it was sort of like I would get quite burnt out because I was just spending all this time remembering. But I was smart enough to basically hack the system, is what I'd call it, where I know what they're looking for in the exam, so I'm not actually doing organically what I feel. Yeah. I'm reading the whole thing going, okay, so they want me to obviously talk about that, and they want me to say why. So I would know how to write the exam, and then I get a really good grade. And then I'm like, but I hate the subject. I don't know.
Because the one thing you have learned is, as an autistic ADHD person, you've gone, oh, I know how to mask. I know how to read what society wants me to be like, and to pretend to be like that so that I can avoid authority and trouble and all that.
Exactly. So that's why I got really good grades.
Oh, I can assess what they want from me.
Exactly.
Let's give them that.
Exactly. So did I retain any of it? Not really. None at all.
My toxic trait is hearing somebody I'm fond of going, I'm not good at maths, and immediately going, I can fix that.
I reckon you probably could, actually.
I could get that.
I reckon you could.
I could do your maths test. We should do a maths, not a maths test, a maths lesson.
Yeah, maybe
we should do a maths lesson. I could teach you maths.
Because I honestly never got it. I just never got it. I just didn't get it. Like, obviously I can do times tables and stuff, but algebra, I mean, what is up with that? Why are the letters there? I don't get it. I don't get it. And then sin, cos, and tan.
I could teach you that. I could teach all of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're getting a bit horny over that.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I could. The table's starting to.
Yeah, you want to teach me how to do maths, Rob? Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah, I could teach you about algebra. Oh,
yeah, boy. See, that turns me off. I'm dried up. But yeah, so I was good at school, but I wouldn't say I was I was academic, but I wouldn't say I was a scholar. Do you know what I mean? So I did uni. I went and did psychology because I loved working with people in terms of, I found the human psychology really fascinating. And I always I thought I could be quite a good counsellor or therapist, because I often found people would come to me at school anyway and ask for advice, and I was always quite good at giving that kind of stuff. So I thought, oh yeah, I could be a psychologist, that'd be cool. But then when I got to uni, again, I realised, yes, I could probably be a good psychologist, but the 3 years of studying was hell, and I hated it, but I still got good grades. So it was like, oh, she's amazing, she should go do that. And I was like, no, I don't
enjoy that.
I don't enjoy studying unless, I mean, if it's really interesting to me, yes. But then I think psychology in itself, what I found is that it was a lot of just theories. It was like, it could be this theory and this theory. Right. And I think maybe my autistic brain that always wants answers was sort of like, well, there's no answer. So like, why
that's really interesting that you didn't understand maths, because that's one of the things I love most about maths. Is exactly that. Like, when I went back to university, when I realised acting wasn't paying the bills, that I wasn't passionate about it anymore. Yeah. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, I've always been interested in the sciences, so let's just do a bit of everything. And I started with a certificate in applied sciences, where you're doing a really simple maths paper, and a physics paper, and a biology paper, and a chemistry paper, and an astronomy, and all these things. And then little by little, I was like, oh, chemistry is not for me, not interested in chemistry at all. Biology was an interest, but I was like, it's got too many grey areas. Yeah. Like, it's easy to go, oh, the bird that has the most that lays the most eggs per clutch is this particular bird. And until we find one that isn't. Like, until it doesn't fit the bill, because biology is under no obligations to fit inside the boxes that we've given it. And like, oh, this animal is a mammal because it feeds its young on milk and lays gives birth to live young. Oh wait. This one gives birth to eggs, but also feeds its babies on milk. So
it's confusing.
I guess so new categories. And we're constantly having to go new categories. Totally. Which, if you've got the brain for that, you're like, some people love that and go, oh, excellent, we've got it. We're always redefining where the boundaries are. Yeah. But my brain is like, no, I want to know where the boundaries are. Physics and maths, you have a wrong answer, and you know if it's a wrong answer. That's
the thing, I actually kind of wish I liked it, because I think my brain would go, oh yes, I got an answer and I know it's right. Whereas, the theory is just like, oh, well, it could be anything. So yeah, I kind of got to the psychology end of it, and I was like, I don't think I want to study anymore because I didn't actually enjoy the studying of it. Right. And I think, the theory was a bit like wiffly waffly, and I know that there's more psychology research now. This was in 2013, so it's probably a bit better now. And also, I also felt at 21 years old, I was like, I can't keep studying and then in 4 years at 27 be a psychologist. What do I know? You know what I mean? Like, I need life experience. So I kind of, I just tapped out of that because I don't regret getting it. I'm glad I've got the degree and stuff, but I also think that there was an element now in hindsight where I was actually just trying to figure out my own brain. Like, I really think it was about me trying to work out, how do people work? Why do they work like that? And then I got diagnosed with autism and I was like, oh, that was me trying to work out how people work. Okay. So I basically did school, academic, yes, but I didn't love it.
I wonder what the overlap is of people who are like fascinated with psychology and the human brain and stuff, and people who are neurodivergent.
There's a lot of research coming out about that a lot of late autistic diagnosed people, especially women, they've studied psychology. There was all these things that went up before I got diagnosed. It was like these characteristics like, has maybe studied psychology, has an intense interest in human behaviour, all these things. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, often actors, because it's just a form of masking where you're like performing as someone else. And so all these things, I was like, oh my God. Loves poetry. I like writing poems. I was like, oh my God. That was kind of my first clue of like, I am fitting a lot of these characteristics. Very interesting. So
it's real tough these days because like so much like algorithms on Instagram and stuff, they'll pick up on things and they'll start showing you stuff. And so people who aren't specialists in this will go, oh, here's an Instagram, ADHD people be like, and they're using something that isn't to do with ADHD, but then people who watch it go, oh, well, I do that, I must be. And so there's this like self-diagnosis thing that's muddying the waters. Yeah. So then when people actually say, yes, I have it, there's less of an understanding because they're like, oh, yeah, but everybody's got it these days and things. It's like,
I know, it's really frustrating, actually.
It's frustrating.
I could talk about that for hours.
It's frustrating, but that's why it was validating, I suppose, to get my diagnosis in ADHD, because I was like, okay, a professional, somebody who is an expert at understanding this.
Totally.
And within that first Zoom meeting with him, the way that he was explaining what ADHD was like comforting for me to know, oh, he's an expert, he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, totally.
Because as somebody with hyperfocus, I have also studied a lot of like looking into what it is and questioning. No, I'm not ADHD. Yeah. What even is ADHD?
Yeah.
Okay, well, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, but okay, yes, okay, this as well. Okay, so totally. I ended up learning a lot about it, and then to hear him validating all of that, I'm like, 100%. Okay, he knows what he's talking about, and then he also goes,
exactly.
And it is my professional opinion, you have it kind of thing.
Exactly. Like, okay, I feel that, like, obviously to even get a diagnosis, you do have to technically self-identify. You still have to sort of self-diagnose to then get there.
That's the starting point of, like,
exactly.
Because you're not just going to randomly wake up one morning and go, what, should I test myself for bipolar?
Exactly.
Maybe I should go and talk to somebody about manic depressive. Maybe I should.
Yeah,
it
doesn't just
like,
come out of nowhere.
There has to be a clue. There has to be something to trigger you wanting to go and get that validation.
100%. I think the people who are truly neurodivergent, they are spending, like you say, and what I did too, we are spending hours researching it. And in my opinion, that's a clear sign that you probably are. Because no one else is sitting there for hours researching this thing.
I like all the memes and stuff about the autism diagnosis particularly. That's like, how do you know I've got autism? We didn't even finish the test. It's like, why didn't we finish the test? Because your test is written stupid. Like all the questions are ambiguous, and they could have. And it's like,
yeah, there it is.
That's the test.
Exactly.
Can you make it to the end of this test without questioning the wording of the questions? Then you're probably not autistic.
Exactly. When I was getting my autism screening as well, my psychologist, I'd question every question and go, but okay, so what's the context of this though?
Right.
And she'd be like, okay. Yeah.
I was talking to Phoenix because Phoenix got her autism diagnosis too, and she was saying that one of them was like, "What's your pain threshold compared to other people?" And she was like, "How the fuck do I know? I'm not other people."
This is the thing. It's such a weird diagnosis because you're kind of like, what? I feel pain, I guess, but we never know in comparison to others.
I've never woken up in somebody else's body and experienced a day in their life, going like, "Oh wow, I hurt more than I should.
Exactly. No, it is really interesting. So yes, I studied psychology. Again, tangent, because we've got ADHD, I don't know if you know. Studied psychology, then didn't pursue that. But then, honestly, from that age, 21, 22, and I feel like a lot of young people feel this, especially in our generation, I kind of went through school, was in the system, doing really well. You're great, Ellie. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. You're great. You're so smart. Blah, blah, blah. Built up. Get the degree, built up. And then you've got nothing. Like, you've got the degree, and then you stop, and then you're like, holy shit, the last 21 years, what's happened? And so from like 21 to like, I'd say like 26, my mental health was really bad. And like, I also now know with ADHD and autism, I had that battling, which I didn't know I had. And I had anxiety and depression and stuff. But at that point, I felt really helpless, or hopeless. I didn't know where I fit in the world after feeling like I'd just achieved a lot of stuff. And then kind of going, oh, okay. And I think our parents' generation, because they kind of, finished school, had kids and stuff, they then were like, go to uni, make sure you go to uni, because I didn't get to do that, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I actually don't think uni is for everyone. And I think, I don't regret going, but I know a lot of people that ended up going because they felt like they should.
So many, I feel like at least half the people that I went to uni with when I went back to uni as like a mature student at 27 or something, I went back and just at least half the people there, I was like, you shouldn't be here. You're doing this because you're stalling, making a decision of what the fuck you want to do with your life.
Exactly.
So many of even the degrees that are on offer, I'm like, what are you studying? They're like, whatever the fuck. And you're like, is that a degree? Why is that a degree? What are you going to do with that degree? I don't know.
I know, it sucks. I feel like we all kind of blindly followed what we were told. I don't blame anyone for it. But then I think we all end up leaving uni and going, well, now what? I don't even have a job because everyone wants 4 years experience. And you're like, what? Yeah. I just finished uni.
Every man and his dog has a degree, so that part of your CV is worthless to look at.
It's devalued.
And the particular degree that you were talked into getting because the uni and just wants the student loans or whatever.
Exactly.
And now you're several tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And
couldn't agree more. So like I kind of left and went, I don't even know what I want to do now. And so anyone who's young, like watching this, I would say, like, if you don't have anything you're desiring to study at uni, don't go
to uni just because it's the done thing.
Amen. Like, go and even just work in a bar for a bit, because you at least kind of go, oh, this is what I don't like. I don't want to work in a bar. I might try this, and you can just try things out.
Try hospo jobs. If money's your object, get into labouring. Like the amount of money that builders can make getting an apprenticeship rather than uni.
Exactly.
Like, I know people who dropped out of high school and stuff like 15, 16 and just went into a labouring apprentice job immediately, and they're some of the wealthiest folk that are around. Because
I was just about to say this.
Not only are they earning bank when they're on site, and keeping fit usually because they're physically active every day, but they're also they're getting a sort of hands-on of what the real estate market's like, because they're the ones building it. They know what's coming. They know that a shit ton of houses are coming, and this thing's happening. So that if they invest smart, they can.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. I saw a lot of kids at school when I was in high school that looked like the bum kids. The bum kids. That's a mean thing to say. But the ones that didn't focus in class, the joke's on us, honestly, because they ended up like earning way more. And I'm like, oh, they went against what we were told, and now they won? Damn it. I shouldn't have followed the system. No, I'm really happy for them, though, that they followed like their gut and just did what they wanted to do, because I feel like in our age group there was a lot of discouragement of like, you have to go to uni, like don't go and do a trade, like why would you do that? And now we need houses, like we need buildings and we need infrastructure, and like it's like we've got no tradies.
Yeah, exactly. We need plumbers and sparkies and plasterers and
so I'd just say anyone younger or anyone who's thinking about going to uni, just do it if you're really passionate.
Do it if you're passionate. Like I would say, just genuinely think, because we live in a world where I'm making a living and paying my mortgage through Dungeons and Dragons content, right? We live in a world where if you are passionate about something and good at it, you will find somebody who's willing to pay you for it.
Couldn't agree more.
So find out what it is that you're both good at and passionate for.
Yeah.
And then think, does doing that thing require a degree?
Yeah, and it possibly doesn't.
If it does, go to uni and get that degree.
Exactly right, because then we move on to like the next phase of my life where I was a bit like lost. I didn't know what to do. Like the expectations of what my life I thought should be and the reality of what it was, that created quite a depression for me, because I just didn't understand where I fit. And so then I just literally fell into, initially I got a job at Coca-Cola for a year because, again, got to get a job out of uni. Hated it. Nothing against the brand. It was just, I just didn't like the job. I was an e-business specialist and it was just boring and I just hated it. So that was a really horrible year for me. And then after that, I was like, what do I do? And so I actually just had a few friends who worked in radio, and I saw that there's jobs that you can apply for that are casual, really part-time, giving out stuff on the streets, like, you know, for
yeah.
brands. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do that for a bit just to like get some money. Like that was all it was. And again, it wasn't enough money, but it was enough to kind of like pull me through. And then from that point, it was like I fell into radio and I liked it. And I was like, huh. And it's funny because when I was at high school, there was an element of me in the back of my mind that went, I'd love to go to radio school and do media. But again, I felt discouraged, not actively discouraged, but it was more like, Ellie, you're good with people. You're good at this. You should do. So this whole thing of should. I went this way.
There was an amazing sort of 4-part Venn diagram I saw once that was like, does the world need it? Are you good at it? Do you enjoy it? And does it earn money? And like the perfect job is like the one right in the middle.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely that you're going to fill all 4 of those things.
True.
But it is society that pushes that first of those bubbles more than anything else. Yes. The world needs this thing, and then they look at the next bubble and they go, and you're good at it, so therefore you should do it.
Exactly.
And they don't necessarily take into account, are you passionate about it, and does it earn money?
Exactly.
Because if you're only in 2 of those bubbles, regardless of which 2, if you're passionate about it and it earns money, but you're not good at it, and it's not something the world is actually asking for, then... It's not necessarily a good thing if you earns money and the world needs it, but you're not passionate for it or good at it.
Don't do it.
You need to, I'd say, at least have 3 of those things.
Ideally, yeah, for sure. Because then what happened next was like I got into radio very casually, and I've always loved talking. Can you tell? And I was like, oh, radio is quite fun. So anyway, I ended up just like organically and by accident, like working my way up radio. Again, this is me saying, I accidentally found my career. And it wasn't because I went to uni, it was because I found something I liked and then I just was quite good at it. I worked my way up. Yeah. And eventually I ended up producing The Drive Show, which is the afternoon show on the one of our big radio stations in New Zealand. And I loved it. It was really fun. And meanwhile, while I was doing that, I met Rowan. I don't know if you know Rowan. His name's Ron Bitcherman. You may have heard of this guy.
From the D&D channel.
I think he plays some weird like.
Oh, he's from the YouTube channel that won best Dungeons and Dragons YouTube channel.
That's it. I think that's it. Actually,
best legacy YouTube channel at the Cred Awards. The one that's run by the best dungeon master in the world.
Yeah, no, it was that guy. Yeah,
Rowan, that guy. I remember him.
Yeah, Rowan, that guy. While I was working sort of lost as, I was living with a friend who worked in radio as well, and he knew Rowan because Rowan actually worked at this big company that I ended up working at, but I didn't know him. And this was when Viva La Dirty was really small, and they were doing their music videos. And my flatmate came home and showed me this music video, which was It's a Saturday Night. And I found it really funny. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. This is so stupid. And because I love silly humor like that. And then a while later, I was at a party and Rowan was there. And so I went up to him and I was like, hey, I'm Ellie. Like, I love your videos. They're so silly. And he was like, oh my videos? And I was like, yeah, they're funny. And it was funny. It was almost like it was his first fan interaction. And he was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And so we kind of ended up being just genuinely just friends for a bit. And I had told him that I did theatre and blah, blah, blah. And at that point, Viva La Dirt League were in the Playtech store and they wanted a woman to play a few different roles, essentially, for a few episodes. So because I'd had that, again, this is all fate, all random, all accidental, didn't go looking for it. Ron was like, would you want to come and just act with us for a day? And I was like, yeah, that'd be fun. Like, silly stuff, silly skits. Ooh. Anyway, so I did the skits that you would have seen, the Girl Gamer one, the one with the VR. And that was really fun.
Was that the first one you did?
So it was actually, there was 2 before that, but it was all on the same day. But that was the 3rd episode, I think, that came out with me in it. Filmed that. Obviously, that went massively viral. Yeah. And then from that point, spoiler alert, I never left. Still here.
No. And before they could get rid of me, I was rooted to them.
Yeah, so essentially, I kind of accidentally started acting with Viva for free. Again, it was just for fun. Like, it wasn't a job or anything. Hobby, still in radio. And then eventually, 5.5 years into my radio career, Viva La Dirt League, this was in 2020, we're like getting real big. And they were like, oh my God, Ellie, we need people. And I said, well, if it's social media you need help with, I've done a lot of that with radio. And they were like, okay, yeah, good to know. Then, spoiler alert, I got a job being the social media manager. So I left radio. I left my career in radio to join Viva in 2020. And I was their first employee. Meanwhile, I was still doing the acting the whole time and stuff. And then, from there, I worked with Viva for 3.5 years as their social media manager. And then I left there, like, last year, end of last year. It must have been a year ago. And then I found Tara, who you possibly know. She's an amazing social media manager that works here now. And I started doing their podcast, as we mentioned before, started producing that. And then I kind of went off on my own. I was like, I'm ready just to do a bit of acting, do a bit of writing, because obviously we wrote ADHD and Me and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I want to be a bit more creative now. I've done the like hard yards with social media. I had a huge part to play with, the Kickstarter and everything. So I really treasure my time full time with Viva. But I just felt at that moment it was right for me just to step away from the full-time stuff and just do creative stuff like you do.
Yeah. Plus you're too old to be doing social media.
Exactly. Honestly, though, I was like, I was saying to them like 2 years ago, I was like, guys, I'm too old.
It's so sad to be in the situation where it is, but like by the time you're 30, it's like
true.
I don't fucking know how TikTok works and stuff, and even just me referencing TikTok, people will be like, "Old man thinks TikTok's the thing," like when actually it's Zingle or whatever the fuck, isn't it? Like there'll be some shit that's new that I don't even know about because I'm too old.
Exactly. So yeah, I recognised that quite early that I was getting old, and I was saying like, we need to get some younger blood here, guys. Like, we're gonna be screwed if we don't.
Because what, Tara's early 20s or something?
Yeah, she's 24. Right. So she was 23 when we hired her, but so then I kind of left Tara in the capable hands of Tara, and she's nailing it.
You can do socials.
Yeah, and then I kind of went out on my own for a bit, and I started working with my partner's company. He does video and photography and stuff, and then I kind of was still acting, still writing. Again, this is a real massive chat to just say like, life kind of eventually happened to me in a weird way, but it was because once I found passion, like things I was passionate about, it came to me easier instead of trying to find where I thought I fit, like a psychologist, And
obviously there's the privilege of like being financially stable enough for that to happen, like to be able to follow the things that are passionate, because it's easy enough to be like, just do the thing you love, but if it doesn't pay until you are good at it, and it takes a while to get good at it, sometimes you don't have the time to put into getting good at it.
Amen, exactly. So I have the privilege of that, and then I kind of, I started a gaming podcast about 14 months ago with two of my mates. It's called Extremely Casual Gamers, and so it's actually a podcast for gamers, but it's for people who are like me, who are just casual as. Okay. Like, you can listen to it if you love gaming lots, but it's more for that like middle ground where everyone a lot of people game these days, and I feel like it's not really talked about that everyone kind of secretly does a bit of gaming. So I was like, we need to do a podcast that's like targeting those people. So yeah, it's literally just the three of us who talk shit for an hour a week and just talk about gaming. Again, that's not like a paid thing, that's just a hobby thing, that's just a bit of fun we do. And then I ended up just most recently filling in back in my old job at the radio station I used to work at for a month, and I was like, oh, I do quite like this. This is a bit of fun.
Did they reach out saying, hey, so-and-so's going on maternity, would you do it?
Well, it's funny, it wasn't that station, but while I was there, another maternity leave contract came up at another station across the hallway, and I was like, that could be fun. Just a year. I don't want to go back forever, but a year could be fun. So anyway, I applied for it, and so now I'm back in radio. So again, I've just fallen back into radio and doing a bit of writing on the side, a bit of acting on the side, a bit of podcasting on the side.
And you're like one of the, what are they called, like the DJs? Is that still what they're
they're called, they're kind of called hosts, or talent, or talent. Yeah, talent's a bit wanky, though, wasn't it?
I fucking hated the term talent.
Let's go with host.
Every time I've ever been on the film set and they use talent. Talent's on the way, can we get talent?
Yeah,
I'm
it sounds so pretentious, though.
Because not only is it insulting to everybody else on the set,
it's like you're not
assuming that they're not talented at their jobs, and cameramen and lighting and stuff, it's also insulting to me because you're implying that my skill as an actor comes from talent, pure natural raw ability, and not skill that I've fucking honed and worked at and trained.
Totally.
Like, there's a big difference between skill and talent.
No,
Don't call
I agree.
me talent.
I know what
Call me an actor.
Yeah, I'm an actor.
That's my job title on this set. I'm an actor.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm back in radio currently, and then doing a little bit of stuff on the side for Viva and my potties, and then actually currently my sister and I are working on our own little independent podcast, which is called WTF is ADHD, which is basically a chat with two sisters who have both been late diagnosed with ADHD, which is the combo. It's for people with just autism and ADHD though. Anyone can listen to it. I'll probably release it early next year, but we're working on that. And again, that's just a passion project because I'm actually passionate about spreading the knowledge I now have and my experience with the two things, because I didn't meet those stereotypes. Like I never would have thought I had those things until I learned more about it. So we want to try and spread knowledge and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. I feel like we took about 3 hours to get there. Was that everything? I don't know.
There's no time limit. It's okay. This is just a conversation.
Oh my God, I need to know the boundaries.
We need to talk about. I think it's perfect that you've got a podcast that's like trying to spread knowledge to people about ADHD, because I think you have a clear passion for that comes through in a very gentle way. Like before I got my diagnosis, and you were like, hey, yeah, this is my story, just in case that resonates or anything. And then I was like, yeah, I'm getting an ADHD test. And you're like, oh, cool. Maybe you should ask him about autism as well, while you're in the test, and just in case it comes up, maybe you should you might want to. I'm not saying that you're. I'm saying that you're definitely autistic or anything. And Phoenix said a similar thing, that she had a similar sort of conversation with you, and you were like, oh, maybe you should just. I'm just going to mention my experiences.
Do you relate to that, Phoenix?
I'm just gonna entirely make this about me, so that I don't accidentally offend you.
Yeah, but no, I don't know if you are, but like.
But look at what I experienced, and I am diagnosed autistic.
Literally, and then what do you know? She listened, which is great. Like I feel like with my ironically my pattern recognition, I'm quite good at recognizing potential neurodivergence in people now, and it's obviously a really dicey convo because you don't know what people think of it either. You don't know whether they're really anti it or whether they don't understand it, so you have to be really careful. But I have a few friends.
My mum fell out with me because I very sort of tact has not been my strongest suit ever.
Oh, really? That's so weird.
Been told.
That's wrong.
But after I got diagnosed ADHD, the guy said like, there's a highly like genetic component that it's not entirely 100%. What's the word? Hereditary is the word. I was like heritage. Hereditary. It's not 100% hereditary, but it's strongly correlated.
Yeah.
If you are diagnosed, especially late diagnosis, there's a high chance that someone else in your family has it, your parents, your siblings and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just, out of like isn't this cool information, kind of said that to my family in like a family chat. Oh, by the way, I've got diagnosed ADHD, and FYI, it runs in families apparently, so there's a high chance that some of you guys are. And my mum was not happy with that because she was like, you're making unsolicited advice on my mental health and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, that did come across that way. I didn't think about that. Sorry, that was on me.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah, that was on me. I wasn't saying like, hey, this is a problem with your mental health and you should get checked out. I was just like,
just saying.
Hey, this might shine a light for you. That's the thing. If you think about your life experiences through this new lens, maybe it shines a light on things for you and makes things suddenly fall into place like it did me.
Me too, yeah.
But I didn't say that in a nicer way.
Yeah.
Once I realised why she was upset with me, I ironed it all out. I was like, that's not what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard, especially with the generation above us, because they didn't have the same education, unfortunately, and so they don't fully understand it.
I also learned through telling my dad and him kind of pushing back as well, being like, I don't see why you even wanted to get the diagnosis in the first place. You have nothing to do, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, why is he so reluctant to admit to accept that a professional has diagnosed me with ADHD?
Yeah.
And through sort of pushing on that and being like, what is wrong with this kind of thing? I learned that he didn't understand what the diagnosis meant. He grew up in a time, when the ADHD was kind of becoming prevalent throughout like the 80s sort of times when the term was starting to come about. He saw it being attributed to like disruptive kids and things, and thought that it meant attention deficit hyperactivity disorder was because that kid has had a deficit of attention from their parents, they have developed a hyperactive disorder. Because like bad parents leads to kids with ADHD.
Yeah.
And so when I said I've been diagnosed with ADHD, he heard it as you were not attentive enough to me as a kid, and I had a deficit of attention from you. Therefore, I've got and I was like, oh, that's not what that means at all. No.
Oh my goodness.
I have a deficit of attention, although I don't because the whole term is fucked anyway.
Oh, the name of it. Oh, yeah.
My psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever the fuck he is, my doctor, when I had a medicine review recently, I sort of was like, one thing I've been wanting to bring up with you, on the medical certificate you gave me to allow me to go travelling with all this Ritalin, you've said that you diagnosed me attention deficit disorder, ADD, which isn't a diagnosis and hasn't been since the 87. It was officially gotten rid of. And he was like, oh, it's all the same thing. Hyperactive ADHD is just a subset of ADD. And I was like, it started making me go, I think I need a different doctor, because
Yeah.
that's not officially the case.
No, it's not. It's actually just ADHD now.
Yeah, and he was like, you have the inattentive subtype, I think. So I dropped the hyperactive part. I was like, that's not how that works.
No, it's not. And also often.
And as a doctor, you should know this.
Yes, and also the inattentive part is actually more about the fact that your brain is hyperactive, so you're inattentive because you're actually so hyperactive here, but no one sees it, and so they think, oh, you're not hyperactive. But for me, it was inattentive mainly. I've got both, but it's all in my brain, and so I'm here, but I'm not, because I'm in here all the time. That's really interesting, because a lot of doctors these days as well, because we're learning so much so quickly about autism and ADHD, some of the doctors actually are behind in the research. They actually are.
And he is an older guy, and I'm like, and I was like, oh, maybe it was a recent change. I looked it up. It's like, no, that hasn't. That was officially changed in '87, I think it was. That's before I was born, dude.
I know. Oh my god.
You should have known. You should have known that ADD is not an official diagnosis anymore.
Wow, that's really interesting, because I also, when I got my ADHD diagnosis, but that was because my dad had been diagnosed, so it was very obvious that, we need to test the girls, and then both of us got diagnosed. And then I started researching autism and realised, oh my god, I almost relate to that more. So I went back to my psychiatrist who had diagnosed with ADHD, and I said, hey, I just wonder if I should get assessed for autism too, just want to check it. And he, again, I'll give you the context, no disrespect to him either, this is not me hating on him, but he was an older, white 70-year-old man, so he was obviously in the old research, and he came back and emailed me and said, hey Ellie, you didn't appear autistic to me when I met you. And I'm like, okay, that is so surface level. How do you know? He literally said that. Dude? I know. And then he sent me the screening test. Exactly. And so he sent me the screening test, said, fill out the screening test, and then I'll see if I can assess you. I did the screening test, and most of the questions were really male skewed. So it was things that for example, did you it was really basic, did you like trains as a kid or something? And I was like, no, but I loved Hannah Montana. It was just really...
Yeah, so, just basically the stereotypes of going, are you good at counting cards?
Exactly, and I was like...
Are you Rain Man? No? Okay.
Exactly.
If somebody drops matchsticks on the floor, can you immediately count them? That's not what it does.
Exactly, and I was like, oh my god,
the fucking time.
He's so out of date. And so I did this thing, did the screener, and then I scored just below the threshold to get assessed, and he was like, yeah, no, well, can't screen yet, blah, blah. My gut was like, nah, I know. So I found another psychologist, and I did another screener where she had a more generic, not generic, it was more of a wide screener for everyone, including women and non-binary, and also it's for everyone.
Yeah, just nothing that's like
just a
more gender skewed through societal expectations.
Exactly.
Because you might have had an interest in trains if it wasn't for growing up
as a
female
woman.
presenting and going like, you shouldn't be playing with trains, you should be playing with dolls.
Exactly. So I did that screener, scored off the charts, and then I did the assessments, and it was like, academic. I did it. See, I told you I was academic. Yeah. And then
good grades in every test that I ever do.
Yeah, I do. And then anyway, I got diagnosed with autism, and she was basically like, you are autistic. You're so
autism.
Yeah, and she was just like, I'm really proud of you for following your gut. So that's another message. If you actually have a doctor, same with your doctor saying ADD, sometimes the doctors are not always right. They're actually not. So trust your gut if you ever are.
I like to sort of think of it as like doctors as a category. Yeah. Doctors are right. Like they follow as a group. Yeah. Like they follow the current medicine, the current understanding. Mm-hmm. Any individual doctor has flaws because they're human. They have their own biases. They have their own unconscious rose-tinted glasses through which they see the world. The senses and experiences and stuff through which they experience life around them. That narrowly changes and channels what their view on life is.
Exactly right.
But as a whole, other doctors make up for that by being like they have different biases and things. So that's the whole point of getting a second opinion and a third opinion, just so you can get like an average of like, if all of them are telling me this thing, I'll trust them.
Exactly right.
Don't just distrust doctors as a whole.
No, exactly.
Trust doctors, but don't trust any one doctor.
Amen to that, because I could have been on a completely different journey if I hadn't done that.
If you'd have just gone, well, that one doctor is infallible because he's a doctor, so therefore I'm not autistic.
Yeah. There you go. Don't know how we got on here on this tangent, but here we are.
So present day then outside of Viva, or like recent past into present day outside of Viva, did you you've still got an acting agent and you've been doing professional acting work as well?
I mainly I do have an agent, but I mainly just do Viva, and I have had the odd audition for like commercials and stuff. Some of them I can't even do the audition, and then some of them you do and you obviously never hear back because it's so competitive out there. So I do have an agent, but again, I think my priority is more, not even the acting, is more personality driven stuff. Like I recently emceed at a big live esports event, which I quite enjoyed. I feel like that plays to my skills. Again, it's like a radio-esque type podcast thing where I'm good at just talking. I can act, yes, but I think more of my skill is talking and that kind of thing. So so I do that.
Presenting and hosting and emceeing,
Exactly. So like my acting is very much mainly just with Viva, which I actually like because it's just a fun little taster I get to do every few months, and that's kind of like that satiates me enough. So I'm very lucky to be in this position to be just acting with Viva every now and then. And then present day, just working in radio for a year. Working on now the 2 podcasts, the Audio HD one and the gaming one. And what else am I up to?
Is there any talk of ADHD season 2 or anything in the future? Did you and Britt feel like you explored most of what you wanted to sort of get out there with that? Or
there's not been talks about a season 2 or anything. I would love to do a season 2 because when we wrote these, we actually had like 11 solid ideas, and so we halved it to do 6 episodes. So we actually already have like a second season, not written, but like there are a few of them are written actually.
When I was writing D&D Logic season 1, I had like 70 ideas in a spreadsheet, and I was like, which ones are going to be the best for like season 1 ideas?
Exactly.
Chuck those in, and
that's what we did.
If you want to do another, if it does well enough and you want to do another, I've got ideas for it.
Yes, we sure do. So we haven't heard any like comms on that, but we definitely could and would if we got offered that opportunity.
A lot of it always comes down to just like remembering they are a production studio, they are a business, and so it comes down to return on investment. Like, was it received well enough? Did it get an audience? Did it do numbers? Yeah. Which is why creators, especially on YouTube and the free platforms, are always harping on about how important it is to like and comment and subscribe. It's like it's a rote thing at the end of a video. People say, make sure you like the video. It's because it's very important.
It is actually currency.
It is the analytics that people look at when advertisers are looking to give you money for your channel, or sponsors, or whether something can be given a grant or something. They look at that sort of stuff. So it is important. Like, comment, subscribe, share it. Even just clicking share on some social medias, like I know Instagram and Reels and stuff, just by clicking the button to share it with somebody else, triggers the algorithm to be like, oh, this is important, even if you don't actually end up sharing it.
That's interesting.
You just hit share and then just close the share window down. It's apparently, I've heard anyway, apparently that's important to the algorithm as well.
That's interesting. Yeah, so
such a weird life to be doing that sort of social media for it, and like you are ruled by the algorithm, this big like intangible thing, and you don't have access to that. No, you don't know what the algorithm wants, and YouTube keeps changing it every day, and Instagram and Facebook, they're all changing their algorithm, tweaking it constantly, like with their analytics going, how can we squeeze more man hours out of the human populace? How do we waste more of their life on this platform and make them stay here for just a few seconds longer?
Exactly. Yeah.
And they're constantly changing that, and you're left on the receiving end going, I'm the one making you money. I'm the one creating content for your platform for free.
Exactly.
But you don't let me in on what I need to do.
I know. It is hard, and that's why it was so cool that beautiful fans, like probably people who are watching here, helped Viva get the studio, because it meant that they could have more like freedom.
Yep, exactly.
And stuff like
that's why people ask that. Like so many of the more ignorant comments being like, oh, you guys got a however many $1 million Kickstarter, and now you're now you're putting things behind a paywall, Viva Plus and stuff. You're just money hungry. No, we're trying to be able to keep making content for you. It takes money to do so.
It does.
However many million they made on the Kickstarter for the studio, that wasn't even even half of what they actually cost to make the studio. And they all had huge mortgages and stuff put on themselves to make this, and to put all the money in, and they need to make that back by making content that is advertisable, it's monetizable, it's got people interested in sponsoring it, and then through that, so that you're not relying on the algorithm, you also have to be like, I need to take my own finances into my own hands by being something that we can control. Let's have a platform that people can pay for if they want to.
Exactly right. Yeah, no, exactly right.
And people who don't know, people who just consume content and don't have any reference to how it's made, it's easy for them to miss like what it actually takes and why people are driven by money so much.
Totally. Like I don't blame people for not fully understanding it because you only see the end product really, but there's a lot that goes into it. There's a huge crew behind the scenes, you know. And so it is kind of our job in a way then to like explain and kind of share that knowledge so people can understand it. But not everyone's always listening, you know, because it's hard to get the messages out. So. Yeah, like, subscribe, share, please.
Make sure to share.
Thanks.
So you have an agent, but you mainly just work acting-wise with Viva, which kind of ties in with what my story with the acting as well. Once I went back to uni, I was like, I enjoy acting, but the last time I was really super passionate about it was when I was doing like amateur dramatic stuff on stage, 15 years old, like not getting paid, just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take up acting on stage again for a hobby. Once I'm not as busy with uni. But around the same time I discovered D&D and it started scratching all that same itch, and as you were saying about like the acting you do with Viva is like just enough to like be like that's all I needed from it. And the D&D stuff is the same for me. I'm like, oh, it's acting enough because I'm putting on these characters and I'm putting on voices and coming up with like what would this character do, and playing role playing is acting essentially. So it's scratching that itch, and then I can also do all of the other things that I'm passionate about with the numbers balancing and the gaming side of things, and like trying to think through world building and
perfect. You've literally found the perfect job
I really
for you.
have
I'm
everything.
so happy
all
for
of my
you.
passions just came together, stitched together.
I know.
I was
I'm
like,
actually so happy for you.
There was a guy in here yesterday, right before we were filming the finale of the entirety of Ezra. There was a guy in here whose job it is, he's put it on himself, well, a hobby it is. He's put him on himself to interview 10,000 people over his life.
Oh, I've done one of these. Was it Fraser?
Yes, Fraser.
Yeah,
you did
I know
one?
Fraser.
Excellent.
I did one, yeah,
so
quite a few years ago,
So
actually.
Fraser was in here, and his job is, he's put it on himself. His life's project is going to be interview 10,000 people about their goals, their dreams. Their dreams.
Yeah.
And so he goes, I think it's a project called like just 10,000 Dreams or something, right?
Yeah.
And he was in talking to the guys, and Adam was like, Rob's upstairs. You want to tick off another one?
Oh, nice,
Like you're doing 10,000. You want to tick off as many as you can. We're already set up like that.
Cool.
So as I was prepping for the session to start, Adam's like, 5 minutes, come and have an interview. And the interview he's doing with people is literally one question. He just goes, tell me about your dream. What's your dream?
That's awesome.
And so he goes, what's your dream? And I was like, I'm living it.
Oh, that's
like,
nice. You've done it.
I'm in such an incredibly lucky and privileged position where all of my talents, my natural talents, and all of my skills, my worked, practiced skills, and all of my passions have come together to fill all of those four bubbles I was talking about. It is something that's earning me enough money to pay my mortgage.
That's awesome.
It's something that I'm very good at. I don't mind saying that. I've never been one for like false modesty and being like, oh, you know, I'm like,
you are good at it.
if I'm good at something, I'm happy to say that I'm good at it. I don't find it arrogant to do so.
It's not
because
at all.
I'm equally happy to say,
But
oh,
I'm
I
bad
don't
at
know
that.
that. I don't know how to do that shit. Like, that is not something that's my strong suit.
Exactly.
This is. So like, it's something that earns money. It's something I'm good at. It's something that I'm very passionate about because I think about it even when I'm not being paid for it. I'm doing D&D stuff. And finally, the last bubble was the one that I was always a little bit like hesitant about. Like, is it
Does
something
the
the
world
world
need it?
needs it? But after a few years of doing this, I've been reached out to by countless people. Like, we're talking dozens of people, both in emails and private messages, Instagram, Discord and stuff, and also in person at conventions and things. Dozens of people who've come to me and basically told me that the work that we do has saved their life. Like, they've come across it through dark periods, or like breakups, or death of loved ones, or like the most depressed parts of their lives. We've brought people back from the brink of suicide and things, because they've said, like, it's important to know that you can laugh and to know that stories are still there and you can escape into stories and it's okay. And you can explore so much stuff through Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Through role-playing games in general, through tabletop roleplay, you can really. It's a form of therapy, and quite a lot of people do use Dungeons and Dragons as therapy. You should also get actual professional therapy.
But this is
it's a good outlet for people to
friend.
explore things about themselves and to learn. It's a safe thing that's not me. It's a character.
Yeah.
So let me explore what I'm kind of thinking about, and maybe I learn something about myself through playing this character.
Yeah.
And yeah,
amazing.
and through that, I was like, you know what? I think it is something that the world needs, especially with the world.
This is the thing.
Every fucking year, there's something happens. I'm like, okay, I think we're living in a simulation, and people are just testing how crazy the settings can get before people start questioning it.
I couldn't agree more, and I honestly think that art. So art, I say art in a general. I mean, D&D is art in a way.
Yeah.
I think art is so important to the world because life can be so hard and depressing that we actually do need art. We do need creativity. We do need these outlets for fun because otherwise we're just all going insane. So I'm so glad that you found that job and you are genuinely changing people's lives with it and giving people a place to like come and form a community like you've got on your YouTube channel here. Like everyone can talk to each other. It is so fulfilling. And I think that, the world does need art because if we didn't have art, it would be a really bleak world. Like it really would.
I did a very short study at drama school. It was kind of like an open-ended study project essentially for my final year, and it was a very short thing. But I kind of focused on the not juxtaposition, the unfortunate. What's the word? Something like paradox or juxtaposition of how art is so important, so vital to the world that it is one of the oldest professions. Like storytelling is second to prostitution. They say is the oldest profession. But like storytelling in general, like being able to tell language is something that majorly defines us from other animals because you can pass down you're born knowing absolutely
nothing.
Zero, except your natural instincts. Like birds can migrate without ever learning it and stuff. So we have natural instincts. But you're born knowing nothing, and then you learn and learn and learn and learn and learn, and then you die, and your next generation does the same thing again and again and again. But for humans, you learn, and then through language and stories, you can pass on the stuff you've learned, so that the next person can start from Isaac Newton was quoted as saying, "If I have seen further than others, it is only from standing on the shoulders of giants," which. In some interpretations, he's basically just saying like all of the giants of knowledge that have come before us, all of these philosophers and scientists and stuff that have understood the world, got us to a point of understanding where I can start here, and then from there I can develop calculus and I can understand gravity and I can whatever.
Exactly.
There is another interpretation of that apparently Isaac Newton was a real fucking asshole. Like incredible mind. One of the ones that comes along once in several generations, like Einstein and Isaac Newton and all these. But the other interpretation of that is that he was a real asshole, and there was a guy, Robert Hooke, who was one of his rivals, and Robert Hooke was notoriously quite a short person as well. And so some historians say like he was having a dig at Hooke.
Maybe it was both. Could have been both.
He was a very intelligent guy. He's probably quite witty as well. But yeah, a lot of stories say he was not enjoyed by his peers at the time because he was a bit of a prick.
Interesting, very interesting. But art is important, and I'm honestly so stoked that you found this and that you actually didn't.
I forgot to actually get to the point. So the study was about how it's one of the oldest professions. It's one of the most important things that we need, but it's also one of the first things to get defunded in terms of like stress and economic problems and stuff. Like, oh, sorry, we're in an economic crisis, so we've not got the funding to do grants for TV shows or whatever at the moment. And it was like, but people need that to keep morale up in the population and to keep us from devolving as a nation into just utter depression.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. I admire you for doing what you love anyway, regardless of what people might have said to you probably 5-6 years ago. D&D?
Yeah.
You're doing D&D, are you, bro? Or I can imagine you possibly got judged from people. I don't know.
I mean,
but you stuck to it. I was always prone to listening to others and what they thought of me, whereas I feel like you've just gone.
Let's see. I think through my life, I've always had a lot of support from my parents and my greater family, my friends and stuff of like follow your passions. But I did also have that. But also keep going with your maths because you're really good at that. I was always very naturally inclined towards maths. It was one of those things that like it actually became a problem when I went to study maths at uni because I reached the limit of what the way that my brain is wired to understand logic and reasoning and to rationally think things through the way that you kind of need to properly get maths on a deep level. Your brain just kind of needs to be wired a certain way. The limitation of that is what came up when I got to like uni level maths, and now I needed to learn how to actually learn and actually study and actually put the work in, rather than just relying on natural talent at it, I could kind of coast through all the way through like GCSE maths, like A-level maths, O-level maths.
Yeah. So you didn't learn how to learn.
I didn't really learn how to learn it until uni, and it became a problem.
I had that
but because
issue
I was really naturally talented at it, like A+ in everything all the way up through like year, till I was like 16 or something. When I decided at 16, I'm not going to do the final 2 years of high school, which are voluntary. I'm going to go to college and study drama instead because I want to be an actor. My dad was like, 100% support you. We'll drive you to auditions and things. We'll keep your hand. Maybe also just do a maths course on the side to have a fallback or whatever. And I did for a while. Eventually, like halfway into the first year, I was like, I'm not passionate about it.
Fair enough.
And my dad was like, all right, drop it then if you want. And I pursued acting until I was like 27 or something, and then decided, okay, I'm going to go back to maths. So I've always been supported. I've never really had that problem of people going, oh, don't do that. That's not a good idea.
That's good.
And then while I was at uni studying maths to get like a proper job, that's when I discovered D&D, and through my years at uni, I developed my talents as a dungeon master, developed my skills as a dungeon master. So the point where I was introduced to the Viva guys, and that kicked off in like I started getting a public eye in my skills as a dungeon master and a storyteller. By that point, it was evident that it's likely I could make a living of it. That very first year out of uni, once I graduated from my maths degree, it felt like I was sort of straddling two trains, like Rob Van Dam with the splits on two trains, and I could see them. There was a divergence coming up, and I was like, I have to commit to the math train, or I have to commit to the Dungeons and Dragons train. If I do this, I'm going to have a real plan in place as to how to actually financially get by. But I think I can make it work, and I'm more passionate about this at the moment, and so I committed. Nice. One of my brothers was like, just commit to the maths. It's safer, and it's safer. You'll earn more money, and you can always. And it's going to be easier to get back on that train at a later date than vice versa. And I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Boom.
Nah, good. Follow your gut.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Follow your gut.
And then thankfully, through some luck, but also through hard work and perseverance, and like having a plan in place for how I'm going to earn money doing it. Yeah. It took off, and I was like, I didn't have to worry about people telling me it wasn't going to work. My family, who still don't fully understand what I do, they've tried to understand a couple of times, and they're like, we're happy that you're passionate, you're clearly getting a niche audience, like you're famous within a very niche audience, and you're earning enough to get by, so we're not like judging or anything, do what's bringing you smiles, essentially.
Good. Oh, that's
but we
good.
Also don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
You don't have
need
to.
to.
You don't have to understand it. Oh, no, that's awesome. I'm very proud of you. It's very, very cool to see you. And then hearing about you going over to Utah.
Yeah, Utah.
And then, people knowing who you were and stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty trippy.
That's so cool.
That was the most I've been, the most I've been recognized in any one, like, condensed period of time was my time in Utah for the Dead Wars, it was called. It was the largest Dungeons and Dragons game in the world. So they got the record the previous year for, let me try and get this right, was it 1,200 people playing all at once? Playing the same game all at once. And then this year they got, I think, 1,450 or so. So they got a couple hundred on top of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Over the course of 2 days. So like it was like kind of like a convention essentially in a mall in Utah, in Provo, and they had a single story that was like a gigantic city siege, and all of the different tables that were set up spread through this mall they all allocated one person at the table to be like the commander of that battalion essentially, and then the commanders would get up and talk to the other commanders of the other tables, and they'd have like smaller. I think I got in trouble at the Tales of the Misfits when Britt said commander, and some military man was like, no, she said battalion, and somebody was like, oh, so they had 800 people? I was like, no, just a small battalion. It's not a battalion then, it's a...
I don't know.
brigade or something. There's like, and I started looking into it. I was like, oh, they are right. There's actually terminology for like if there's 2 to 5 people, it's called a squad or something, and then if it's between 5 and 10, it's a something, a brigade or something, and then it's like between 10 and 20, it's this, and battalions, like if you've got over 800 people. I was like, man, there's very, very specific terminology for all these different things. So
wow.
I use, general Joe Public's not going to know all that. So battalion,
no.
A small battalion.
Yeah, we're just a little one, just a little one.
But yeah, it was very well organized in this kind of network, like a, they also call them like sleeper cells, I think, in like when they're talking about like terrorist organizations, where like the individual groups know individual groups, and then there's one person that's part of like a bigger group of groups, and so that means that nobody on the bottom, if they're ever caught and tortured, can give away too much information.
Yeah.
And it was kind of arranged in a similar way, where no one table knows the bigger picture, but like this guy who's your commander of your table knows at least what the 5 nearest tables are doing, and what your plan is, and then and then we had runners that were going around to those, and like, so how many people have you killed? Taking notes down. How many people have you killed? How many of you are down and stuff? Taking notes of that, and then using that numbers into an Excel spreadsheet to be like, overall the city is falling. There was different like points of like at certain health bars or whatever. After they've killed so many people, the wall falls, and now they're inside the city. Gotcha. And there's a big announcement over the speakers. All right, Dungeon Masters, move on to scenario 2. And they've all got these packs given out to them that's like, okay, we're moving on to scenario 2. You guys are now inside the city. Blah blah blah. I have no idea. I don't know. The logistics of that is a nightmare, right?
Yeah.
I was like, that feels like a genuine nightmare for me to be like, I couldn't imagine running something like that.
But no, it's so cool that you.
But it went really well.
Yeah, awesome.
And it went really well, and I was flown out for it. Like I'm at the stage now within the Dungeons & Dragons community where people are willing to reach out and go, we'll pay for your flight out to Utah and put you up. And
good on you. Follow your passion. Honestly, just follow what your gut says. That's my big lesson.
Yeah,
all this,
the world needs it. Like, no matter how niche your passion is, there's somebody out there that wants it.
There's an audience for everything, or a crew for everything. So yeah, just do it. See what sticks.
So what's next for you? What's your passions that you're following at the moment?
Well, at the moment, as I mentioned, my sister and I are creating a little podcast called WTF is ADHD, and we want to chat basically about our experiences in life in general and after diagnosis and stuff like that, because up until 2013 you couldn't even diagnose the two together. Right. They actually said you either are one or the other, but now they discovered literally like 11 years ago, which is not even that long ago, that you can be both. And so I feel like there's probably a lot of misdiagnoses that's happened before that. So that's why we want to do this podcast, just to like really get the info out here from our perspective. Obviously, not everyone's going to have the same experience as us, but we are two sisters who are actually very different, and our manifestations are very different. So we thought it'd be interesting.
Your sister has both as well?
She does, and hers is like both versions are so different. We were so different as kids, but it's fascinating. We both have the same thing. It's just manifested differently in our behaviour. Right. And so we kind of want to like talk about that. So that's like a big passion project we're working on at the moment.
When are you hoping to get it released?
Hoping like kind of kicking off next year with it. So we've recorded like the first ep, and we're going to keep recording episodes for the next few weeks, and then we'll probably release next year. My sister's done the branding for it and stuff because she's a graphic designer. She used to do all the she still does some of the thumbnails for Viva La Dirt League. So yeah, that's probably the main one. And then I'm in radio for another 10 months. I'm only 2 months into my maternity leave contract. Not me on maternity leave. I'm not pregnant.
It would be weird to only hire pregnant people. They're like, for this maternity leave contract, you are only allowed to come and join us while you're on maternity leave from some other company.
So doing that for another 10 months. And I don't know that I'm not necessarily going to stay in radio or anything. I might get offered more work, but I don't know yet. I'm just kind of playing it out for now. I'm very much just in the moment. Yeah. And in general, like this is the thing, I always but ambition, I kind of just go with it. Like I think also being my whole life, I've kind of just like let life take me. And I've ended up in some really cool places through luck and talent and hard work for sure. But I kind of just let life take me. I would love to, you know what I'd love to do? Is I would eventually love to work in not the media, but like in the arts area, but be a psychologist or a mental health support for kids on screen. Okay, because I've always had a real interest in child actors and what the effect it has, and not just actors, singers, etc. What the effect is on them, because so many of my favourite actors from when I was younger Mary-Kate and Ashley, Lindsay Lohan, Amanda Bynes, like, I name all of them, and they've all unfortunately had a hard time, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It was the industry, and so I'd love to eventually like work with those kids to be the support on set that they need, because I feel like we didn't prioritize the mental health of kids, and it's really bad. And even with social media now, it's even just kids becoming famous on TikTok and stuff. It's like we need like, therapy for that.
That needs to be addressed before it's a problem, because it's gonna there's so much potential for a kid to go viral, and for that, and it's like, what is that? How does a developing brain? How do they handle understanding that this isn't a normal scenario that other people are going through, and like what they're gonna have to do differently to make sure that they grow up well-rounded.
Exactly. So I would love to, not yet, I feel like this would be something I'd do in like 10, 15 kind of years. Like this is more just like long-term. I'd love to support people who are in the acting or music industry. So, because I feel like it would be, again, a good combination of my talents, like knowing about sort of human behavior and psychology, and then being in the arts industry myself. I just feel like it would be a really suitable kind of role for me. But again, that's like a real long-term kind of like, I feel like there's a gap there and we need it. That's cool. So that's something I'd like to potentially do. I don't really know how to do it, but I'll figure it out.
Work it out when you get to it. In a similar way, I've always felt the same, well, not always, but more recently I've felt the same about like not having ambitions that I want to set in stone, or not like when people say like, oh, what's your 10-year goal, what's your 10-year plan or whatever. I'm like, I don't set one. I don't think about things in that way, because especially nowadays, because in the last, let's say 2 years, my life has changed in such dramatic ways. Like my personal life and everything. I've learned quite a lot about myself in the last 2 years that have uprooted my life in ways I could never have expected.
Nice.
And it's made me go, I don't know what tomorrow holds. I don't know what a year from now looks like. I certainly don't know what 5 years from now looks like. No. I look back on me 5 years ago at 30 and go, I'm not the same guy I was then. I look back at 25 and I'm like, 10 years ago, I was a completely different person.
Same.
So 10 years from now, I'm going to be, who the hell knows?
That's the thing.
I could have given it all up. I could have gotten to a point where I was like, I'm sick of all of this, and I've told every story that I want to tell, and like I'm going to be exploring that creative side in a completely different way. I might have taken up pottery or sculpting. Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
Exactly.
So I don't like to put that onus on myself. I say like, live for today, but plan for tomorrow. Like, don't live for today doesn't mean go and spend all your money as if tomorrow's the last day alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you should plan for being, like, the chances are very high. Statistically speaking, it's very unlikely I'm going to die before tomorrow.
Yeah.
I could be, or I could be in an accident, or I could get an amputated limb or something, and my life completely turns upside down. So be aware that that's a possibility, but don't live yourself in fear of it.
No.
Statistically speaking, I should keep saving money. I should keep paying my rent, my mortgage. I should keep buying groceries, planning as if I'm going to be here in a year's time.
Exactly.
But living for just what I'm enjoying at the moment, and not putting. It's really important to not go, I'll be happy when.
That's a fatal line.
It's so bad, right? You got to go like, it's never going to happen. No. You're always going to get to that point, and something else is happening.
Yep, and you're always going to want more anyway. Like
so just be happy with what you're doing. Just make sure that you're enjoying it, and you're enjoying your life as it's happening at the moment.
Exactly, and live by the values that you believe in. I guess, because that's going to lead you to all those places anyway. Eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
By chance. Yeah.
Yeah, live what you want to see in the world as well. Like live, be the person you want to be. Be someone that you are happy with being, and know that you are making the world a better place by you being in it.
Exactly, that's really nice. Exactly right.
So we've talked sort of past, present, future projects and goals and passions and things. We haven't much delved into tabletop roleplay and Dungeons and Dragons, and a huge part of my audience is obviously interested in that stuff.
Yes.
Tell me about your experience with tabletop role-play and gaming in general. Like, where did you first start out? Were you a board gamer as a kid? Do you like card games, role-play games, bluffing games?
I loved card games. I loved board games. I loved video games. I liked PlayStation 1, all that kind of stuff. But I never had really been introduced to role-playing games, which actually were really, I realise now, damn it, because I love acting and I love playing characters. And so I didn't really ever play many role-play games at all.
Did you do sort of imagination role play as a kid, like a really young kid, like out in the garden with your friends and stuff? With
Definitely.
sticks and stones and building things and tree houses and whatever.
Yeah, I was always in my own world, always wanting to, like, you know, make up little dances for my family or little scenes for my family, or, you know, even just playing the checkout lady at the checkout and making my sister be the customer, all that kind of stuff. Love doing that. So no, my first experience with tabletop was literally when I played Alduina in the Adventures of Azerim campaign. Quite a few.
Yeah, because we didn't do like a not session zero, but like a pre-game introduction to it at all, did we?
No, I just kind of came in.
Yeah.
So I was very green in that character. Like, I didn't really understand it fully.
Elvina Custodian.
That's me. So I had a lot of fun playing that, actually. But then my real taste for it was obviously doing the Misfits. And I loved doing it so much. Like, I didn't really know what to expect. I knew it'd be fun. I knew you were great. I knew I was very lucky to be playing with someone with so much experience for the first time, honestly. I feel grateful for that. But I genuinely thoroughly enjoyed it. And I looked forward to the sessions, and I was really sad when we finished filming. I actually genuinely was. And I wanted it to go on longer because I'd finally kind of found my character and like I really just was into it, and I was like, damn it.
That's the problem. It just with short campaigns like that, it can feel like we were just getting there.
Just getting
into how to be that person.
Exactly.
It's something that a lot of it like comes as a surprise for a lot of people taking up tabletop roleplay is they go in with this solid character of like, I'm going to basically play Batman, and I've got this character that's 2 levels of this and 1 level of this, and a feat in this, and I'm basically just going to be Batman.
Yeah.
And then like 2-3 sessions later, they're like, I'm kind of playing it a little bit more like this, and I'm enjoying a little bit more of this. And he started as Batman, he's evolved into his own thing.
That's the thing.
And it's a perfectly valid thing to happen to you and your character to just allow that to naturally progress.
Exactly.
But it does mean that if you're shooting for content, well, it's like half-hour episodes, and we've kind of got to keep a pacing going and stuff. You're like, all right, we've got originally 6 table sessions, managed to squeeze an extra one out of them.
Yeah.
Very, very grateful that they gave us a 7th table session because it allowed us to wrap things up much more nicely. Yeah. But yeah, it means that you're just getting into your character. I feel who the character is. I've had an introduction to my patron, my walk patron and stuff.
Exactly.
But there's still so much else your character has the potential for that we haven't managed to explore.
Totally. Even down to like not having to go like this on the iPad 10 times. I actually started knowing, I know where that is, and like I was really getting into it. So I honestly thoroughly enjoyed that, and the woman I was playing with, awesome, love them, they were amazing. As I said before, you guiding us in such a great, compassionate, fun way. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I was sad when it was over.
It came through that you were enjoying the character, like in character creation when you were coming up with the backstory, and you sent it through, and you left parts of like, I actually don't want to know what this part is. Like this when will this be coming out? This will come out towards the end of the campaign is aired, I think. So
cool. Okay, so
avoiding spoil it. We can always edit it out if we realise we've accidentally spoiled something.
Sweet.
In fact, this might come out to tie in with the end. I might do like a tie-in. So
yeah,
I'm not sure. Cool. I'm not sure whether I've decided later to release this after the Tales of the Misfits is concluded or not. But one way or another, you left blank for me. Like, you don't want to know who your patron is. You wanted it to be Genie Warlock. I sort of helped outline all of the different classes to choose from. And what was it about Warlock that kind of spoke to you?
I actually can't remember, to be honest, why I picked Warlock.
Was there other things? Because I can't remember either. Like I remember we had a session 0 where we could like get together and actually play through the game.
Yeah.
It was important to me, and I like really put my foot down on that with the producers and stuff. I was like, I need a non-filmed table session. I know that's not good for return on investment, but I need time with the players, because otherwise the very first time you see a lot of them playing is them brand new characters and going,
exactly.
Oh, what do? I've got to be funny. It's only half an hour of content, and we've got to hook them in that first episode, because otherwise it's a brand new series and they don't watch it.
Exactly.
I was like, I need them to at least have time with these characters and to decide as a group whether these characters mesh well and there's chemistry and stuff.
Yeah.
And to decide on logistical things from a production standpoint of like, yes, it's hilarious for Hanky Panky Yankee Doodle, the biggest horse you ever seen, double it. But also logistically not going to be practical on green screen.
Yeah. No, I'm glad we did those.
For more than an NPC.
We
stupid fucking
we managed to do it.
that costume, man. So fucking stupid.
Funny.
But yeah, all of those reasons, I was like, we need a session 0.
Yeah.
So we came together, and I remember for that, I asked you all, like, bring at least one character concept, probably 2 or 3 in case your first one doesn't really gel with the rest. And I talked to Phoenix about it when I was doing a short rest with her, and she said we managed to remember a couple of the ideas she had. We talked to her a couple of the ideas that Ree had, I think, but I don't remember. I don't remember why it was Warlock. Why you decided, and whether you had other options.
I'm going to literally look at my notes right now, because you know sometimes you just put shit in your notes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually wondering if I have actually written stuff about it. I found my Buble stuff that we already established, but
I think you wanted to be. I think it was like you want to be a spellcaster.
Yeah, I think it was. I think I wanted to have good amount of magic.
I think it was like magic was kind of the only thing you were like. I know I want to be a magic caster.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Phoenix was like, oh, maybe I want to be a rogue or a monk or something. She had a couple of different options, and she wanted to be a couple things.
Yes.
Brit was definite right from the very beginning. She wanted to play a vampire. That was locked in.
Yeah.
What class that was going to be was a little up in the air, but it was most likely going to be druid or ranger or something, because she's very into nature and animals and likes to play characters that are as well.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, so we'll work with that.
Yeah, I think it was. I didn't want to be. I knew I didn't want to be a bard because I'd played a bard with.
Right,
well,
yeah.
I did want to be a bard in a way because I like being a bard. It was really fun. But I knew I didn't want to do the same thing. But I think it was more to do with the magic, and I don't regret it, because I did love that my character has a lot of like sort of magical things that they can do, as opposed to some of the other ones at the table didn't have so much magic. I loved that I could do the magic, because I've always been obsessed with magic. You know, I love Harry Potter and all that kind of stuff. But it's funny because I've never actually like talked about this, but with Buble, obviously if you've watched it, you know that Buble has this real conflict in their brain about fire water. And it was this weird discrepancy in Buble's brain. And really what that was at the same time as we were filming this and creating this, I had just begun or had just been starting my autism diagnosis journey.
Oh, okay.
And it's funny, like I think subconsciously I created a character that had this like yin and yang situation going on, which actually subconsciously is the life I've lived in my brain, and not realizing that it was autism and ADHD. I didn't know this, but subconsciously I created this character with this confusion of who am I, why am I two different things. And this is like a little Easter egg. Now, I can't remember exactly which episode it was, but it was the episode where, and I think it's happened already, but where it's revealed and I learn where I came from. I learn about the fire and the water thing.
Yeah, it's definitely out
Yeah,
already.
so that moment, that episode, the coincidence, this is hilarious. So 2 days prior to us filming that episode, I got my official diagnosis for autism. And then 2 days later, you might even see it in the shots where I tear up at the table, but I didn't obviously do it because I was having a moment internally. But when I got my diagnosis for autism and ADHD, it was like everything in my life went, oh my God, I understand me now. I understand where I came from. And in that same week, we discovered the Buble thing, and you said the most beautiful sentence, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but you were like, you've now finally figured out what it was for your whole life. And you literally were talking, I felt like I was literally going, I know he's talking to Buble, but I feel like he's talking to me right now because I've just discovered this weird, like this crazy discrepancy in my brain, like connecting.
That's exactly what I was talking about with the therapy, and like it has ways of connecting. Like you suddenly start making connections in character that you can explore safely. And
it was like life literally imitated art, and the coincidence that it was happening the exact same week.
I think it was right after you meet the fire genasi, the fire genie, Amon al-Mutter.
Yes.
And I explain like, your grandparents on one side came to me for the wish. Your grandparents on the other side did as well, but I was too busy, so I sent them to Barbreeden, or vice versa, I think it was. And so like both of your sets of grandparents were able to conceive because of the wish from a fire genie and a water genie, who themselves were sort of in a matrimony of sorts.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you now realize what it was that's given you this magic.
Exactly.
You now realize why this fire and water mixes, and you start to embrace it as well.
Exactly. That's what it was. That's what it was. It was like you talking about like you figured it out,
and you've realized
and
how
you
to
embrace it. And it was like that week, literally that week, 2 days earlier, I'd gone, I'm just going to embrace myself because that's who I am, and I now know why. And then that happened at the table, and I actually was. You might be able to see it. I don't know. I haven't watched the episode yet, but I actually have tears in my eyes, and I go quiet for a bit because I'm literally processing this like crazy diagnosis in my real life, and then this crazy diagnosis kind of.
The Buble is also realizing why this thing that that they have been fighting against for their whole life. Of like, I don't know why I accidentally do fire sometimes and endanger people, and like I wish that just wasn't a part of me. And then they realize, oh, I can embrace that and use it, and like it is a part of me. And you start to use like, excuse me. This is exactly why I wrote in that Amon from what he wanted from you was to deliver a message to Bar through like fire magic and like a fire dance. And I wanted to see what that turned out to be, because I wanted it to be like, what does it look like when a water genasi can cast fire magic and uses those elements not as like try to suppress the water elemental part of me so that I can do pure fire, but embraces the fluidity of the water within the fire and makes this like, and I I think I say at the table, it's like you get the same message across through this dance, but it's like speaking it with a different dialect.
Exactly.
Because it's water blended in with the fire.
Exactly. It was crazy, the parallels, because like fire and water are so opposite.
Yeah.
So are autism and ADHD. They're actually quite contradictory.
There's a lot of memes about them like clashing right in the middle, like need for order and regulation and understanding, and then absolute
then need stimulation
and chaos
novelty.
and non-routine. Yeah.
Literally, like, so that's been my whole entire life. And so the fire water thing was actually subconsciously an autism ADHD metaphor, really. And it all happened in the same week when you revealed it. And then I got my diagnosis in the same week. I was just like,
it was a beautiful gift to me when you were making the character, and you sent me the backstory. You'd gone through a lot of detail of like, I was abandoned. I don't know who my parents are, why they abandoned me there, but I kind of grew up in a whale carcass, and this and that and the other. I was a dancer, but people started to shun me for my random outbursts of fire. So I had to retreat to the land. I've got a war gong. But I don't know what the purpose of it is. I want it to be important. I think you said that I want the war gong to have been important to my fire genie patron, but I don't want to know that I have a fire genie patron, or why it was important to them. And I also want them to be connected to me in some way, like familially, but I don't
know why.
I don't know if they're going to be my brother or my sister or my son or something, blah, 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 whatever it's going to be, I'll leave that to you. And that's a beautiful gift to have. It's the perfect balance. Sometimes you get players who are like, here's 17 pages of detail with lore and backstory, and like, here's, I was part of this kingdom and this blah, 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 and you're like, you're stepping into my bound, your world building, my bound, now I have to include your kingdom and part of my world and the history of my world and stuff. No, that's a bit much. I can't shoehorn that in often. No. But other times you get players who are like, I don't know, I'm a fighter, and I'm in a town, and you're like, I got nothing to work with. I got nothing to work with. You've given me the broadest thing possible, but also I don't know what sort of a story you want to tell. You haven't given me enough of you. Like, what are you bringing to this character? What are you interested in exploring through this character?
Yeah.
Whereas with you, I think you gave me like a page and a half or so, and it was like a page of, this is my backstory and what I want, and then this maybe even just like half a page actually, because I'm literally visualizing the document. I think it's Phoenix is up the top. I think you were next, and you spread onto the next page, and the top of the next page was about the war gong, and it was like half a page of who you were as a backstory, and then a paragraph of just leaving things open to me and being like, this is what I'd like to happen, and if we get to explore it at the table, that'd be great. Yeah. And that leaves me room to go, oh, I can take stories from that.
Fit in here.
I can look at it very quickly. Brit's backstory gave me undead. Phoenix's backstory gave me undead. I was like, okay, I don't have undead tied here, but there is an undead story in the other campaign. If I grab that undead thing and then thinking through the mechanics of it, how would it work? When you cast a spell, Raise Undead, it specifies that you can target up to 3 dead bodies or something, and so how is a necromancer raising an entire army if he can only cast it on 3 people at a time? He needs some element to boost that, to enhance his power. He can cast through something. So I've got a MacGuffin. What am I going to call it? Oh, I haven't tied Bublé's story in actually, and she's interested in exploring fire. So if I make it something fire related, like a fire gem or like a shard of ember or something, I'll ember shards, and then I'll tie in. That can tie in their story here. And then specifically said that she was less interested in exploring her backstory. So I was like, she's given me a small amount of backstory, being like, I'm from a fighting ring, and I'm just interested in helping people and kind of adventuring and exploring with no goal in mind. Yeah. So I was like, I'm not going to tie in. I'm not going to set like scenes tying in the story that they have to go and explore Ree's thing. Yeah. Because she isn't interested in doing that.
but I will just like tie it in narratively. So the dead people that die in the ring, what's happening with them? Undead. They stick them in the army. So I was able to kind of like go, okay, here's a story that's emerging through the stories.
Yeah, you nailed it.
And
it
it's
was
a real gift when your players can give you that to be like.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're the professional, not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what to do with the story, but here's enough to work on.
Yeah, well, you did such a great job with like just bringing all our little ideas and making them into one big like condensed kind of linked story. It was awesome.
Thank you.
Then the ADHD thing happening in amongst it was just like, what the fuck? This is crazy. It was actually healing for me.
What was the biggest challenge of that being your first first character you could get? Because with Elduino, it was literally just one table session in the old settler's place. And it was your first time playing, you didn't know what to do. The guys are very loud and very hard to get a word in edgeways when they're doing jokes, joke a minute.
I know. What was my biggest challenge in the Buble situation?
Was it like the mechanics, like understanding spellcasting and stuff?
Yeah, I think I lacked the knowledge because I hadn't played D&D really, and I haven't done a lot of TTRPG. I didn't fully understand all of the I guess base lore of D&D, and so sometimes I think there were probably opportunities where I could have used a spell that maybe I didn't remember or didn't know I had or didn't realize I could use.
Spell
or
does and stuff like that.
That's why I'd love to play it again because now I get it.
There's a few times I've noticed in my BTS, my watch parties that I do each week, where there's a point where I'm trying to hint that you have access to a spell that's super important, and you're not getting the hint. No. So I like it goes on in a couple more sentences. I'll drop a stronger hint, and then at some points I've just gone. You have water breathing as a spell. You can cast that on people, and then they can breathe underwater.
Yeah, you were very helpful at times.
You were being grappled by a fiery monster, and I was like, "Have you got any spells that might useful?" And you're like, fog cloud, this and this, and gaseous form. And I was like, yeah, what was that last one again? Gaseous form. What does that do?
Yeah, I was just I don't know.
A creature you touch turns into gas. I was like, okay, do you want to? Maybe you could use that. And you're like, oh, I touched the thing that's grappling me. And I'm like,
no.
It's a willing creature, so you could turn into gas and escape the grapple because they're grappling you and they can't grapple gas.
I remember that happening. I was like, I'm such a fucking dumbass. Oh my god.
But I always look at that, and it actually ties back into my desire to teach you maths. Comes from like I used to be a maths teacher like at university while I was studying maths. I was studying specifically how to apply maths in an education standpoint. Like I was studying how we teach maths. And I was a maths tutor and stuff as well. And I've always been of the opinion that like if you don't get something, it's on me, not you. Like I have not explained something in a way that you can understand.
That my brain gets it.
I understand maths like I on a fundamental. I understand it right to the core of my brain.
Yeah.
It's like I just get it.
Yeah.
And so I can always find a different way to explain it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's good.
You're the one who doesn't understand it, so I'm not. It shouldn't be on you to try and rewire how your brain is thinking about it. I can go, oh, I understand it this way, and I'm trying to explain it this way, but I also understand it this way, and I could explain it this way, or I could use analogies, or I could use metaphors, I could use this and this. So it's always on me. If you're not understanding, it's always on me. So in that moment, I'm going. Okay, she's not understanding the fog cloud. I watched back and I go, I could have done that better because I feel like I was a little dismissive at times, being like, come on, you've got a water gong that you should have, you've got a magic gong that gives you special spells, so maybe you should be using that. And I'm like, and then I after sessions like that, I go, how can I work out why it was that you were struggling to remember that you had that magic, and how can I better encourage you to know your abilities before next time, without just being like, you should fucking research your character, damn it.
No, exactly. No, I appreciated your style of teaching, and I think you've got so much to think about. You've got the whole story, but then also 4 characters and blah blah blah. So I think that you did a really good job to try and guide us. And then the fact that you even go back and reflect on your own kind of performance as well is one of the reasons you're such a great DM, because you actually go back and you reflect and you try and do things differently and better.
Yeah.
So I think you did a really good job with that. But yeah, for me, I think my limitation was definitely my lack of D&D knowledge at a baseline. Yeah. Whereas I loved playing the character, I loved all the jeopardy, I loved the acting and stuff. But I think, next time I would do better because I'd hopefully understand just the basic lore.
The basic of how it works and things. Yeah, there's also the opportunity then in future for the D&D channel. There's a chance we end up rebranding it to more like just a gaming channel rather than D&D, like tabletop gaming channel. So that it allows us the more of opportunity to branch away from D&D and into other role-playing systems, because some people will gel a lot better with rules-light systems where it's like you roll a single dice for everything, so it cuts down on which dice am I rolling. There's systems where you don't roll dice at all. There's a system called Dread where it's a horror game that's all about a Jenga tower. Like you don't roll dice, you pull from a tower instead. So every time you're trying to attempt a thing, you pull block from the tower. And that's ramping up the tension throughout the whole thing. And if the tower falls, you die. So there's all sorts of different tabletop role-playing games with all sorts of different systems, and I would love to explore that more through the D&D channel in future, like through one-shots, and get players in who maybe struggled with the D&D side of things, like guest stars and stuff that we've had. Maybe they didn't enjoy it or whatever reason, but I think they would really excel in this game or that game or whatever.
Totally, because I feel like D&D knowledge and lore is something that, like you, have literally built for years of reading and researching and playing, whereas I can't learn all that in a few months. It's just never going to happen. So that's why, again, I'm like lacking that knowledge, and it's not like I can easily catch up. I've just kind of got to learn at my own pace.
There are. Yesterday we filmed the finale for the Adventures of Azrim, and before we started filming, some of the guys at the table were like, "So what do I add to this when I'm rolling an attack and stuff?" And I was like,
4.5 years.
It's like, okay, 5 years. And again, I just try and remind myself from a teaching perspective. I'm like, some people don't have a brain for remembering things like I do.
Totally.
I remind myself this isn't their passion. They're not spending every waking hour thinking about it like I am. They're not playing the hours and hours and hours of D&D that I am. They're running an entire channel outside of this. That's another thing that we had to remind ourselves in the meeting when we were talking about the future of the channel recently, and we were discussing all the different things, and we can do this game and that game and one-shots and long-shots. And Raluca was there as a producer being like, this is your second channel, just to remind you all.
The whole other one, and a website.
So me and Adam and director Ben, we were all like, oh yeah, we could do this, and we should do a Halloween tie-in before next year, and we could even do like a Valentine's Day tie-in or a Christmas tie-in and stuff. And was like, yeah, that's great. We need to fit this in around filming all of your sketches and for all of your main channel stuff that you do, Epic NPC Man and Board and all of this.
Yeah, no, the producer will always bring you back to reality.
Bring you back to reality. Cool. Where are you getting the extra $1 million from?
We're
going to need to hire another crew.
What do you reckon? No, well, I actually really, you know what I did enjoy a lot was the Honey, I Shrunk the Peasants one-shot, because it was the hope and fear. It was quite simple. So I really enjoyed that just because it was simple. I got it quite quickly, and I was like, oh, okay, I get this. So I really enjoyed that one as well.
Hope dice, fear dice. If you roll higher on that one, you get one of these tokens you can use for later.
Easy.
And cash them in to help each other out.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
It's a nice system. I'd like to play with that a little bit more. It's called Daggerheart. It's it was nowhere near what the actual Daggerheart system is. I just took basically the dice rolling mechanic and the hope and fear. But there's an entire like character classes and choices and stuff. The one of, if not probably the biggest TTRPG channel, Critical Role. They're the ones who created it. They came up with their own system. That's awesome. Daggerheart, and a lot of people have said good things about it. I was a little curious and a little apprehensive about how much math there would be involved. I know that I can do mental maths pretty quickly. Adding up a few numbers is fairly easy for me, but people with dyscalculia or whatever, it's hard for them to do. And there's also like a mental block if you have taught yourself all your life, I hate maths and I'm bad at maths. You just see maths and you go, and there's like my brain is not allowing me to even attempt it because I've already told myself I'm bad at this.
Totally.
And so there's a lot of that. And with the Daggerheart system, you're rolling 2 d12s, you're adding them together, and then if you've got any modifiers, you're adding those on as well. And so it's like, what's 11 plus 4 plus 2? And then that, I was worried that then maybe it would slow down, maybe it would be a bit much, which is why I was prompted to try it for a one shot. I was like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's only a one shot.
I found it easy to follow, especially just learning it on the day. And I found it easy to follow. Obviously, I actually found it obviously a lot more easier than the D&D stuff because it's amazing that world. But man, there's so much to know and learn.
Plus, I deliberately got rid of all of the classes and the spells and things from Daggerheart to be like, for the sake of the base system, it's just the D12 Daggerheart system. But for your characters, you've got a couple of words that you're good at, and if you invoke that word, you get a +2.
That was easy.
I made all that shit up myself.
Yeah, I liked it though because I already knew my character too because I'd obviously played it for like 8 years.
You played the character. That's super important as well. Super helpful.
Nah, that was a really fun one. So I'd definitely be keen to do more like one shots like that as well. Eventually, if we end up doing more of them.
So what was your? So that was sort of the lore, the how D&D works and the spells and stuff and what they can do. That was kind of a challenge for you. What was your favourite moment about the Tales of the Misfits?
Man, I think overall, I just loved each time coming to the table. I think I enjoyed the table. I love doing the green screen stuff because it's funny and silly.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite is actually at the table because it's just 4 hours and you're just sitting there with friends, lucky, and getting just, I loved vibing with all four of you on our creative brains and then just like bouncing from thing to thing. And then I just really enjoyed that like creativity together at the table, making things up in our imagination and then just seeing it play out at the roll of a dice. Like I really did enjoy that and just bonding with you guys and like getting to hang out with friends, but you're not yourself. You get to just play a character and it's just like, oh, it's a bit of fun. And then you pop in and out of character. And I just really liked the camaraderie probably is what I'd say at the table. That was so fun. And
It
really
is
wholesome.
something that's like sets it apart from different types of storytelling. Like you're making shit up.
very
You're obviously we're in a position where we're making D&D content for an audience.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of people who play D&D are doing so for themselves,
fun,
just for fun. And so in that respect, it is a unique type of storytelling in which you are the writers of your story and you're the actors and creators of your story, as well as being the audience for your story.
Yeah.
And you're the only audience for your story.
Yeah.
Because you may go home and be like, tell your wife, oh,
this
this
happened
happened in
today.
D&D today.
Yeah.
And the vast majority of
Like,
people,
oh.
in cases, they're like,
In your made-up world, cool.
I don't have context for that, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, but your story, your D&D stories, never as interesting to anyone else other than you.
Damn it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the case. So yeah, it's a very unique storytelling medium, but it
is.
is something that's very fun.
It is. I feel so lucky to have been able to do it. And be doing it in a professional environment too, and like, getting paid to do it
getting
was
paid
awesome.
to do it's pretty great.
But it was just fun in general, and I again like feel so lucky that I get to literally play with one of the best DMs in the world. Like, I'm very lucky. Like, I've never played it in my life, and I'm like, oh, I'll have the best DM in the world, thanks. Yeah, I think I had a really good experience with you. So I love
Obviously, best is subjective.
Yeah, but he's
except
really
for
good.
the fact that I do have an award that says best DM, so not objective fact.
There's a
best
little
DM.
object
I
that
can't,
says it.
I wouldn't say that about me.
No.
I would never say I'm the best DM in the world ever, but an award says it, so who am I to argue?
Exactly.
How good was Fall when she joined us as the as Mixie?
that was fun, and like I obviously was apprehensive because obviously that was a cold meet. We literally met Fall, and it was like you're
And
at
now
the
you're at the table.
So we had to bond very quickly, and I was like apprehensive about just that side of it, not because of Fall. Like she was so lovely and amazing, but we'd obviously
How's
just,
she going to be as an actor? How is she as a character?
We
Does
just
she vibe?
sort of started getting our vibe and stuff like that. But she came in and like, I mean, you can tell she's a very experienced D&D player.
Knows how to play.
Like the difference between her and the rest of us, it was like, oh yeah, so she plays D&D. We clearly don't.
It couldn't be more obvious at the table that she's like actually asking me. Oh, she's not just looking at me going,
no.
What should I cast now? What should I do? What do you reckon we should do?
She was like
she's
commanding
She's
it.
going. I'm going to use two sorcery points to convert to a spell slot and cast so and so on you. And then she's reminding Rhea as well, like, have you got bardic inspiration? You can do that as a bonus action.
I know, she was like coaching us. No, but she was great, and it was cool to finally have that crossover on our channel because I know people have said, get these guys.
Get Deerstalker on.
So no, Fall was awesome, and she was a great person to hang out at the table with, and added so much to our story. And I feel like she was also very like compassionate and empathetic and considerate of the fact that she was a guest. So she was she was just, I feel like she played it perfectly, where it was sort of like, I know I'm the guest, I'm going to come in hot, but I'm also not going to come in too hot. I think, Fall just did a really, really, really good job, and I had a lot of fun. I didn't really know what to expect.
What was your personal favourite moment of the campaign? Either a comedic moment or like a dramatic moment, or
I think it's the end. Yeah, like I feel like the end, like the last session we did. So that'll be what, like the last like 6
it'll be the last 6 to
episodes?
7 episodes.
Yeah, that was like amazing. Like I really,
I'm really glad I put a lot of pressure on myself for that because I was like,
No, it was
I have
amazing.
had to tie up so many stories and tie it up in a satisfying way and handle something that happens in that session very tactfully so that because I knew that it had to happen for reasons that I'll talk about, but also, I'm pretty sure this is coming out after the
it's hard
the
to
things
know,
that I've
eh?
done, but
Yeah, that last session was very good.
I loved that session, and like it felt like everything sort of came to like a big sort of climax essentially, and it was just so cool. And that was the session. Obviously, we knew our characters the best because we'd done it for 7 sessions by that point, and I just really loved those last sort of like 6 to 7 episodes. And emotional, am I right?
That really makes me happy to hear because like for some reason, like one of my biggest pressures on myself as a storyteller is like nailing the ending. I think it stems from me having seen so many series that just kind of fall flat, or they go on for longer than they should because the producers are like, it's earning us money, keep making another season or make a sequel or whatever. Or, and you're like, the story was perfect as it was, leave it as it was. Or like, what the hell happened at the end of Game of Thrones and just ruining everything you've been setting up for 8 seasons. Lost as well, like for the first 3 seasons, it's like, oh, mystery and intrigue and so many plot threads and stuff. And then the last 3 seasons, they're like, oh, now they're introducing time travel and what? And
really?
what? And then this thing you've set up as a really big thing, you're just going to be like, oh, it wasn't actually important. And you're like,
damn it, people hold on to that and they want to know
it's always a huge pet peeve of mine when I'm consuming something that like when it falls flat. And so it's always been a huge pressure to me to go, I can't have people saying that about my stuff. I can't have people going, that was a disappointment at the end.
I don't
I'll have to deal with that at some point. I'll have to get myself used to that because it will happen.
Yeah,
you can't please everybody, and so by the time the end of the Tales of Misfits is out, and by the time that the end of the Adventures of Azrim is out, there are going to be people going, no, it shouldn't have ended that way, or they should have wrapped this up better, or they should have whatever. So it's a fact I'm going to have to get used to, but like it's just important to me that I know that I've put in as much work as I can to try and end it right.
You did with ours, and it was amazing. And also, people need to also consider the fact that you've got this idea, but also our dice rolls are at the table. They happen at the table.
Like that's the other thing. I'm not writing a novel. I could write a novel and end it how I want.
Exactly.
But I also have to write alternate endings.
You're reacting to us and
go like, I'm not the only one telling the story here. I've got the narrative that I intend to happen because I know from my experience as an actor and my acting degree and everything and my many years of studying it, I know what makes for satisfying stories usually. But I also have to then fluidly move that around as things are happening or choices are being made or rolling the dice is not working, and I'm like, okay, how do I roll with that? Roll with the punches.
No, you did such a great job, and I really enjoyed. Obviously the end is the most recent memory I have, of course. So I'm very I'm attached to that. But I do genuinely think that was probably my favorite kind of moments, and it was really it was really well done in my opinion. You did a great job, and I just genuine emotion. It was great.
Well, maybe we'll see the characters again sometime. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll hear more of the stories again. It is essentially like a cinematic universe that we're setting up with the Azrim and the Epic NPC Man stuff. They've got the dev series, which is all about the developers of the video game. Then we've got all of the D&D series that have ever been run for it. The Isolation games is canon to the world. The both campaigns are canon to the world.
And Straya is also canon to the world. Just make sure we've got that.
The next flagship after Adventures of Azrim, that's probably going to be another short campaign like Tales of the Misfits. We're going to a more short campaign flagships standard now, kind of more like the Dimension 20 do, where it's like a few episodes, tell a story that's self-contained, move on to the next story.
Nice.
So they'll all be in Azrim. We'll explore different parts of it. So everything that your characters did is canonically happened in the world. Saving the guys deciding to do a server reboot or something. They've always got that option with being a video game. They can always be like, that server gets closed down. They open it. There's an update to the video game. All of the stuff that's come before is
now done. It's not canon. No, I had a great time. I love that.
With the last few minutes, then let's ask some questions from my Discord. From some of the fans have submitted questions that they'd like to ask you.
All right.
Demps asks, how did you first meet the guys and how did you get involved with them? You kind of went over that. You met Rowan through.
It was just through
that, and then I assume you just met the other guys through Rowan, saying, "Hey, we need a girl actor."
Pretty much. I met them through them, and then Alan also worked at the big company I was working for, and then I ended up doing some acting with a show he wrote called Intern, which was through NZME, which is the company we work for. Did a little show with Alan and Rowan there as well. But it was kind of through friends / through the workplace that they then both left and did Viva. And then it was kind of like a random come back with us, and then I never left.
Calamar asks, what inspired ADHD and Me series and what do you like most about it? So was it you or Britt that had the initial concept idea?
We were basically like, initially the guys said, do you want to apply for this? There was some funding going. And they're like, do you want to try and apply for this and do a show? And we were both like, what could we do? And obviously both of us have ADHD. And I think I said to Britt, like, is there something with ADHD we could do? Since it's something we both have, we both relate to it. And then we were like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do a narrative comedic series because there's not really narrative comedic series about these things. There's a lot of TikToks and like people talking to cameras.
Lots of individuals and, the really low budget, low effort ones of like some guy doing both roles.
Exactly, but we wanted to do like a narrative comedic thing which was just easy and fun to consume, but then you could still maybe learn a little bit along the way and kind of represent that woman's experience with ADHD. But again, you know, every experience is different.
Was the idea pretty much right from the beginning that it would be a person and a personified ADHD?
Pretty much. We quickly, once we kind of went, yes, ADHD, we then quickly went, oh, we definitely have to play it like the mental health skits that the guys have done with the depression and the, that was kind of where we got that idea from. So then we
And
both
it was
just...
cast immediately, you both in roles?
It was
obvious who was going to be which?
We didn't even discuss it, but it was like, well, yeah, obviously you'll play ADHD. And I was like, yeah, what do you mean? Yes, please. So yeah, I love that show and it means a lot to me and I feel very grateful that we got to make it. And the thing that was so rewarding was seeing people, you know, message us individually because we did the podcast with it too, the Behind ADHD and Me podcast. We would break down the episodes and we talk about our experience with ADHD. That was really rewarding, getting messages and seeing comments from people saying, oh my gosh, I relate to this, or I'm now going to go get diagnosed, or it was so rewarding and I want to do more stuff in that space because I think it's a conversation that's obviously happening a lot, but I think we could always have more chats about it, especially from different perspectives and stuff like that. So yeah, I love that series.
I'm looking forward to the next few years. I think we will start to see changes in how it's assessed and diagnosed and how we talk about it. I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if they do an official like relabeling of
they should.
Like, once it's becoming more prevalent, more understood, the sheer number, the percentage of the population that is neurodiverse in some ways, once that's starting to get more obvious to people, I think it's going to force a change in them going, okay, we're understanding and evolving our understanding every year, so let's reassess attention deficit, hyperactivity.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't think any one of the words makes sense because I wouldn't even really consider it a disorder either. Like
it's literally just the way your brain's built. It's just differently wired. That's all it is. It's a divergent from a normal brain, and that's all it is. And that's why people with ADHD or autism, they have these special skills, and that's why we need these people in society because they're the ones that think outside the box and stuff like that. And in my opinion, ADHD is not a deficit of attention. It's too much attention on too many things.
It's a dysregulation. Being unable to regulate which things that are stimulating are the most important things to focus on.
We're novelty seekers essentially, but it doesn't mean we lack attention. If we're interested in something, our attention is
that's one of the things my mum said when she was like, you never had a problem with paying attention. Sometimes it was even hard to pull you away from something. Like I'd be in the room shouting, Robert, and you wouldn't even know that I was there. And I was like, hey, let me explain something.
Yeah, this is how it works, okay?
Let me explain a thing called hyperfocus.
Yeah, there it is.
You know how I would often forget to eat for an entire day and still do?
Yeah.
Man, this last week, thankfully I've had a couple friends and mods reach out to be like, just reminding, hey, have you eaten today?
Oh, that's nice.
They know that I'm coming up to the finale yesterday and I was putting so much pressure on myself. I binged the entire series, 250 episodes of content over the last 2 weeks.
Did you?
Yeah. While doing other things, I had it on. I was watching the supercuts on playlists, and I had it on in double time speed, and I was working on the spread on my notes and stuff because I wanted to go through everything. And like, if I've mentioned a character, I'm like, does that character need a payoff? Do I need to come back to that character at all? If I
why is the best in the world?
Went through the whole thing, and then it would get to the end of the day, and I'd be like, I feel really fucking jittery. Oh yeah, I haven't eaten. I forgot to have breakfast or lunch, and it's 10 p.m. And I haven't had dinner either. Great. This is probably why.
You don't have an issue with focus. We've decided, right?
So that's what inspired. What did you like most about it, the ADHD and Me series?
in terms of like the reward of seeing people relate, that was obviously the biggest one for me. It was just seeing the relation of people. Yeah, that'd probably be the biggest thing. It's just seeing people connect with it and go, oh yeah, we have kind of help here, and people are feeling it and understanding it.
What aspect of playing D&D are you most enjoying? You kind of talked about the storytelling and the camaraderie with people. But is that the one you initially thought you'd enjoy most, or has it changed? Like when you were going into D&D, what did you think you'd enjoy about it?
I think initially I thought I'd enjoy acting out the silly scenes in the green screen, and I did enjoy those. But no, I think in the end I diverted to just enjoying sitting at the table with you guys, genuinely. Yeah.
I think it's the thing that I like the most.
Yeah.
Is those, I really like that the guys had the idea way back before we even did Descent into Avernus that like that was something they were going to do, act out the stuff in a green screen, because it very quickly became like the unique point of sale for us. Like I know that there are some others that do it now, but I think at the time we were one of the only D&D actual play channels that were doing that sort of thing. Half-hour episodes of content is a huge selling point, and interspersing the table stuff with acting it out in green screen, those two things set us apart from a lot of other actual plays.
Yeah, love it.
Makes it very bingeable for
exactly.
Since the beginning, people have been commenting, "Oh, she should be an hour long. He should be 2 hours long," and then just as many people have been like, "No, I need to be able to watch it on my lunch break and keep up with it every week.
Exactly.
I cannot keep up with a 4-hour actual play every week like some of them are."
That would put me off. It would put me off. I can't have time for that. Sure.
Kelly Meyer asks, how do you feel about your character on board? Is your character pretty far from the real Ellie?
Yeah, I'd say
Are you just as manipulative about your pay from Viva? Have you managed to talk them into paying you $170 an hour or whatever it is?
Nah, it doesn't convert to real life, unfortunately. No, I would say I'm actually very different from my board character. My board character is very like, gives no fucks, doesn't want to be there, quite unenthusiastic, lacks energy, but I'm actually, in real life, I think I'm quite friendly. I'm a bit more energetic.
Opposite, yeah.
I'm a lot more friendly. I think I'm pretty opposite, actually.
I would say there's a lot of very opposite characters in most aspects. One thing I've been interested in is like seeing Ellie's progression since you moved to Tech Town, because your pay got wiped back to zero, and at that point I was left going, why is she still working here then? She doesn't need the money, she's wealthy by now, unless she's just been squirreling it. Do you have like your own headcanon as like, does she have a bunch of money in the bank, or has she been earning so much and thinking her job was secure that she's just spend it all frivolously?
Yeah, I think more likely canon in my head has been like, I've just been spending it up, like going,
which would help explain like
why I'm still there,
why you're still there now. You're like, shit, I should have been saving that.
Exactly. And also the other thing is, I think with my character is I'm quite like lazy in the way of I just cruise, and so the thought of me having to go and find another job when I'm already like able to manipulate my manager, why would I leave? Like I can just, I'll get him back eventually.
Yeah, I'll eventually get into
I'll get it back. I'll get him back.
Playing the long game of like, once he's in control of the money again, well.
I'll get him back. And also, I think just now you would have noticed since Tech Town, I'm a lot more disengaged as a character, which has been really fun to play. I've become even more disengaged and even more negative, which is really fun because, again, it's not really me in real life, so I enjoy playing it.
Staying on the sort of board topic then, obviously they started out as like individual sketches. They were playing the same characters, but they weren't even like considering canon events from one thing affecting the next in any way. But over the years, they've almost by necessity been forced into this remember what's happening, have sagas of like things that actually affect the next thing a little more. Do you have talks with them about what you'd like for Ellie's, like, do you have to now think about who the character is and where you would like her to actually go? Do you have development in mind?
A little bit. Like when we knew we were moving to Tech Town, I was in a couple of writers' rooms and we kind of decided that I would become a lot more disengaged as a character. And then I really do want to have a bit more fun. Like with the recent episode that came out this week, I don't know, a while, but the one with me getting stabbed with the fake blood and stuff, that was really fun because it was just kind of outrageous and silly. So I think we do want to have more of my character doing more stuff like that, and we definitely want to revisit the pay thing eventually. Like I think me and Rowan's relationship will keep evolving. One thing I'd also like to explore myself is like the relationship between Britt and I. I would love to like, because we're obviously so opposite. Our characters are so opposite, but there's an element of me in my brain that wants to potentially create a story arc where we're so opposite, but we're actually secretly allies in a way. And I don't know what that way is, but I would love to have some sort of like Brit and Ellie story arc. I don't know what it would look like.
Okay, yeah.
But I almost have it unexpectedly where like I don't necessarily reveal that I'm her ally, but we kind of have this like understanding that maybe I do kind of care about her more than I let on.
Right.
Again, that's more me just wanting to do that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I would love to have more of a connection to Brit in some way.
Just some more scenes to play with.
Exactly.
What did you? How did you like Bublé's character arc? We talked a little about that. You
Yeah,
were
I
pretty
loved
satisfying with how that all
yeah, I had a
wrapped
great
up.
time.
What is the most surprising thing that's happened to you while working at Viva? What's the most surprising thing?
Oh, that's interesting. Surprising thing. What's the most surprising thing? Oh my god. Oh, there's so much that's happened.
Good question, Michael.
That is a really good question. I mean, I'd say that the first thing that really blew me away was the original Girl Gamer video when I literally went in, had a bit of fun, filmed it, and then that was literally the first video that just went boom, bonkers. And I remember I worked at a radio station at the time doing online content, writing articles, and I would go to websites like Unilad, LadVibe, all those kinds of things, and then to see my face on that, I was like, oh my goodness, that's so weird. Like I couldn't really comprehend it. So that would probably be the weirdest thing because for me that was just me having a bit of fun and being a bit silly, and they weren't even that big yet, and then it just went bonkers. So that would probably be a big moment
pretty
where it was
surprising.
like, whoa. And I also really surprising. Oh, actually, nah. I was going to say one of my favourite memories was filming Balin's Route, but that's not necessarily surprising. That was just a fun kind of nice time. Yeah,
I was only on there for a day, I think, one day, but yeah, it was fun.
It was fun.
It was a fun set to be a part of. There was like there was a constant air of like, oh my god, can you believe we get to do this sort of thing? Because they'd finally managed to achieve their first Kickstarter and got the funding, and they were like, we're actually making a short film.
It was so wholesome.
Exciting the whole time.
It was so awesome. Actually, also another surprising thing was the second Kickstarter we did to get the studio. I believed in our concept and everything, but I was very surprised with how well it went.
Yeah.
Like, because I just genuinely
support.
could not believe, like, wow, people are really buying into this. This is so
Huge
awesome. It was so
support.
lovely
And
to see.
We wouldn't have this without it. Like,
Not at all. So thank you for your contributions.
Having the behind the scenes look at like what stretch goals there were, I was going, God, I hope we get that. And I really hope we get to the one with the ladies campaign.
Yeah.
I'm really holding out hope for the tavern, because having been the showrunner for D&D Logic season 1, I was like, there's nowhere to film tavern-like stuff in Auckland especially, but pretty much in New Zealand. There's just nothing that's like medieval, high fantasy-esque settings.
Yeah.
Nothing that's permanent. Obviously,
No,
a lot of that
exactly.
shit comes to film in New Zealand for the amazing visitors, but they set up a production studio and they take it down again.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I was like holding out hope, and then to see it just like racking up as the Kickstarter went on, I was like,
Yeah, wow.
here we go, ladies campaign, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah. Felagund asks, have you tried any one-page TTRPGs? So they are exactly as they sound. As I was saying, there's lots of different systems and different levels of rules and stuff. Like D&D, there's books upon books about the rules and the spells and the classes and stuff. One-page RPGs are literally just a single page paper that has all of the rules, the character creation, the story, and everything. Just all fits on a single A4 piece of paper.
That sounds like a bit of me.
They can be very fun and wacky and zany. They're designed to be pick up and play, so you don't even have to like prep them. You can everything you need is just on the page, and they're designed for one shots, maybe like 3-4 hours of silly fun, and then you're done. And it's not like a campaign that's ongoing. So like the one that always comes to mind first for me is one called Honey Heist, where you're playing bears in hats who are criminals trying to steal a bunch of honey.
Oh my god, fun.
And usually some of the go-to sort of staples of one-page RPGs is that it'll give you a little tagline, your bear's trying to steal honey, and then it'll give you a table of like your character creation, and so you roll a d6 to decide what type of a bear you are: black bear, polar bear, grizzly bear, honey badger, whatever. And then you get a d6 table of like what hat you're wearing, and then like a d6 table of like some what job you fulfill in the heist. So are you the getaway driver, or are you the face, or are you the tech guy, or whatever? And then you create and then the other side of the page is usually got like some tables of like creating the scene, creating the story. So it's like you are a blank. You are trying to you are trying to take down blank.
because they are blank, and if you don't, they will blank, and in order to do so, you blank. And that's your story, that's your
awesome.
character, go.
I've never tried it, and I think that would be something I'd love.
So, and that's just one example, there's hundreds of them. I played one last year that's available on my channel, a holiday special called Goat Crushers, where you're a goat and you're trying to crush a party. Fun.
Oh my gosh.
You're trying to pass yourself off as a human so you can crash a party. There's one called The Witch is Dead, where some hunter has killed the evil witch in the forest, and you are her familiars, trapped in the house. So you're you could be a crow or a badger or a cat or a raven or whatever, and your first goal is try and get out of the house because none of you have opposable thumbs to open the door, and then your ultimate goal is track down the hunter and kill him because if you can take his eyes back to the witch, she'll come back to life or something. So
amazing.
Just silly one-page things that are just here's the concept, here's your character, go.
I like the sound of that. Thank you for that question.
I want to play some of those with the Viva guys as part of the channel. They'd be so easy to film. I think Alan and Rowan, I've been saying for ages, people want to see you running as well. They like seeing me as the dungeon master. They want to see how you do it. They want to see how fun it is or how chaotic it is to force you into the DM seat. And Adam's actually going to.
Cool.
He's actually already got plans in place to run a one-shot.
Cool.
Alan and Rowan have always been I'm not interested. It just fills me with dread, kind of thing. I'm like, that's fine. We don't want to force you into a role, but is the dread from you don't want to force yourself to learn the rules?
Yeah.
Because you could easily pick up
a one-pager.
Yeah. There's one called "Let the Mermaids Touch Your Dick," maybe.
Oh, I'd probably love that, wouldn't I?
And the concept of that, it's not a dice-based thing at all. I don't know it too well, but basically the concept is you've got dildo in the center of the table, like a suckered dildo, just sticking in the center.
It's not the first time I've done that.
And you, right? And then it's covered in glitter, I think, and you've all got those sticky slappy hands, those stretchy things.
Yep.
And I think in order to, if there's an attempt to do something, you throw the slappy hand at the dildo, and if you hit it, it comes back and it's got some glitter on it, and you count up the glitter, and that's what you roll or something. It's just the bullshit. There's just so many things. If you can think of it, it's probably out there as a concept for a one-pager. If you're going, I'd like to get into tabletop roleplay, but Dungeons and Dragons is too off-putting or too worrisome, too much, or too expensive to buy the books and things, you can download these things for free, man. They're all over the internet.
Yeah, wow, okay. Thank you for that.
So,
little hint
yes,
there.
you haven't played any, but you'd like to.
I would like to, yeah, for sure.
Nerdwitch asks, Adam and Britt have participated in a few games outside of Viva. Do you see yourself doing the same? Have you ever played D&D, or would you ever play D&D just for fun at home?
I potentially would, actually. I've got a couple of friends who like D&D, and then obviously I've got connections here with you guys that like D&D. So yeah, I would consider it, but it'd be a matter of me organising it, which, will that happen? That's the big question. I would be open to it though. I think if I didn't do the legwork and someone else offered me, I'd definitely do it. But I don't know that I would necessarily go to my way at this point
set it up,
to do it. Yeah. But I'd totally be involved if there was an opportunity. Yeah.
Maybe Adam or someone just express your interest to do so, because I know that Adam ran a couple of games as kind of practice, as home games for some of the crew.
Nice.
I know that Tom, camera guy, has done the same. He's started running a couple as well.
Yeah, cool.
You just make it known among Viva studios. Just make it known. Hey, if you're interested in a player. Maybe they'll have a spot open.
Yeah, nice.
Fancy asks, is there someone in Viva or not in Viva that you would love to play a D&D game with? Would you love to be in a D&D game at a table with any particular person?
That's a great question.
You can open it to celebrities or even
do you know who I'd love to play D&D with? Bo Burnham.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Not
that's
that
a good call.
I don't even know if he would play D&D, but I feel like
Bo
Burnham would be so much fun to play D&D with. I would so do that. I love Bo Burnham. He's just a genius. I think that'd be my celeb.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Because I feel like he would be.
I wouldn't have thought of it, but I think
he'd be funny as.
I think he would be funny, yeah. And I definitely would imagine he would play.
Yeah, surely. He's got the brain for it, yeah.
Ajo asks, Dear Ellie, why are you so great?
Ajo, stop it. You always make me laugh. Nah, thank you. I don't know, because I've got cool people around me like you that tell me I am.
All right, that is the wonderful question to end on. Thank you so much for joining us. I don't want to keep you over time. We already have, but thank you all for your questions as well.
Yeah, thank you.
If you want to submit questions for other in-person short rests, make sure to join my Discord where we collect those questions for future guests as well.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks very much for joining me. I think my salty margarita's out, so
Yeah,
we should probably get back to. Should probably end the short rest there. We've got our Warlock spell slots back. We've rolled a few hit dice to recover, and
off we go.
Off we go back to the real world. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Anywhere people can follow you? Would you want to plug your Twitch channel if you're streaming?
Yeah, I'm Ellie on the telly on Instagram, which is ELLIE on the telly with a Y on the end. And then my Twitch is the same, but I've got 2 Ys on the end because someone else has that handle, don't they? And then if you want to listen to my little casual gaming podcast, Extremely Casual Gamers podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts, and keep an eye out for the WTF is ADHD podcast my sister and I are doing, if you're interested in that and you want to learn more about what autism and ADHD is and the combo. Cool. I think that's it.
And if you're here just to see Ellie's beautiful face and you've watched all the way to the end, you probably would like my content as well, because I do other short rests with other people too. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Hey there. Thanks for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. And if you want to support me in ways that doesn't cost you anything, you can tell your friends or colleagues or family or Reddit threads or just post the video somewhere. Thanks.